And so we ask ourselves, will our actions echo across the centuries?
My brother found a number station once. He was on watch. I don't know where he was, some ship somewhere, and he recorded it with his phone. And they picked up someone that you can still get. It was like some British lady's voice, but it's cool that like that's just still floating around. Just like hear a number station if you listen to a radio long enough.
She said sometimes shit ends up out of the toilet.
Sometimes there's shit outside the toilet.
At the toilet.
Dude, if I leave like quickly, like not leave the stream, but just like go silent and not responding.
You're on a toilet.
I ran from the laptop to evacuate my bowels.
Nice.
I should be fine though. I took an Imodium.
What's the what was the purpose of the number stations again? Wasn't it just like code being transmitted?
Mm-hmm.
There's different purposes. So the OG purpose, as far as I understand it, is that in the event of like a nuclear war, like you were able to transmit to like stay behind teams or like different like organizations, just like certain messages. So like if they hear like the chair is against the wall, you know, like in Red Dawn or something,
mm-hmm.
that would be like a signal like, hey, like the shit has hit the fan, like DC has been nuked. Like, take your portable nuke, go walk to the nearest capital of the Soviet country, and just self-detonate.
Which is like a real thing that they like did.
Oh, it was a real thing.
Which is so crazy.
You know what's even crazier? It was like regular, not regular SF dudes, but like this is like the blue light teams came in, as I understand the history, and I'm butchering it because it's been years since I've read about it. They came into development like somewhat parallel to like Delta Force and stuff, so like it isn't like the same JSOC hierarchy where we understand like everything's super important is like the same like five.
Was it Detachment Alpha that was it?
It was Den A, and I think they also had Blue Light.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just like Green Berets in Europe.
My the guy I went to one of the was it one of the instructors? I don't know, one of the class, some instructor of something I went to was doing that stuff. But like it wasn't spooky or anything. That's just like it was so normal. There were regular SF guys doing it, like you say, practicing. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? And because he was an old timer, so. But he was telling me about it. He said it was like they jump with these things and hike them somewhere, and then
it was
do all sorts of. They practice like Fulton recoveries for like packages of like photographs and things like that. Just kind of
and it was they carried a backpack nuke. It was like a cylinder, like imagine a beer keg strapped to an Alice frame, and that's what it was.
Literally, yeah.
Interesting.
Someone should have backpack nuked Epstein's Island, though.
Yeah, just vaporize it to the fucking ground.
That would have been sick. Do like an OTB.
And honestly, the whole thing with that, like, you know, we've said before, at least I've said, is the joke of nukes not being real. I think a lot of that comes from like the suitcase nuke idea or the backpack nuke. Like I don't think that those things are real.
I think they're totally real. I think
I have no reason to think this. It's just like I decided I don't think this is real.
I forget how big the original nukes were, like size wise, but they weren't like astronomically big. Like I mean, they fit on a plane made out of like aluminum and paint and like flown by propellers, so it can't be that big.
Well, have you ever watched the BitChute videos on nukes not being real?
No.
Sounds great.
Well, this is your first problem, is that you're not on BitChute.
Watching nuke conspiracy videos. I have no reason to believe nuclear bombs aren't real.
What's that?
I have no reason to believe that they aren't real.
I don't either. I have no reason to believe it either way, to be honest. Like, I think that the thing with nukes is that they have sort of, like,
I don't
know. I feel like the benefit of there being all these countries with nukes, or at least being portrayed that they all have nukes, is that war wouldn't break out as frequently. But I don't know. I like I said, I'm not saying that I don't think that.
Well,
nukes
we saw with Iran. Like I'm not gonna say like nukes aren't real, but like I do doubt that Iran has a nuclear weapon because I feel like that would have been the time to use it. Oh, all our leadership is dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like one of those things. Like I kind of figured they would have tried something, but maybe we nipped it in the bud.
Yeah, I have no
They
idea.
don't have nukes. Maybe every time the U.S. government actually says we've stopped their nuclear program, they actually stopped it.
So what did Ben Shapiro's dad take from the nuclear facility in Pennsylvania then?
Stuxnet. He took a USB with Stuxnet before USBs existed.
It was on a floppy disk. Have you ever seen those? There's this video. It's on YouTube where this guy takes a Casio F91W and he modifies it to hold like an RFID tag that has a bunch of data that he puts on it.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah, usually you see the dudes mod them to look cool.
Yeah, dude, I
destroyed mine a couple months ago.
Oh yeah, trying to mod it. I remember that.
I'll just buy a new one.
Yeah, they're $20.
We bought black ones, and then like the black faced ones, and then the black face Casios, and then they were too dark. I kept mine, but
they were too dark. Yeah, I bet, dude. Fuck,
Yeah.
you racist motherfucker.
No, I kept mine. I said Tyler's the one who got rid of his.
No. Tyler's the racist, not me.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, I forgot about that. I got it. I did not like it.
I told you. I said it's too dark, and you're like, just as you bought it, you're like, ah, damn.
Yeah. I don't know if I could go back to an LCD display watch without like some serious like contrast on it.
It's I ended up getting the MIP. It's the G-Shock G200 or something like that.
They're all fine. I'm still John Casio Pro Trek. I think the Casio Pro Trek is a G-Shock, but just like, I don't know, marginally more useful.
Mm-hmm.
It had a compass, altimeter, and barometer, and I've never used the altimeter barometer because when I had it, I didn't understand it. But I used the compass a lot, and I would use it for land nav, and it was like accurate to within a degree. Like if you were shooting like if you were like a team leader shooting like a basic like grid, like hey, it's about that house is about 140 147 degrees from us. Like it was pretty fucking close.
Well, yeah, that's why I got the.
I wouldn't call for fire with it, but
that's why I bought the Garmin. What's the Garmin Instinct Tactical was because it had the compass on it, and it's pretty accurate because I have a very bad sense of direction naturally, and so doing call for fire.
Aren't you a JTAC or something?
Yeah, and that's why I keep a compass on me all the time.
This dude, I have a bad sense of direction. Yeah, you blew up the wrong fucking command center, man.
That's why I bought the watch, and I keep one of the Sunto M9s on me at all times, and I have a Lensatic compass like at all times because I'm like, dude, I need like 3 methods of this.
I was about to buy a new Garmin, not a watch, but the Fortrex, the wrist mounted GPSs.
Mm-hmm. They're very nice.
The Fortrexes are nice, but the Instinct Tactical is nice, and like I've tested the compass where like I've shot a pretty like something that's like 1,000 to 2,000 away. I've checked the azimuth real quick on it, and then I did it with the Lensatic, and it was pretty much 1 for 1.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I don't know. It's weird. You still want to hang on to the I trust the fucking old school mechanical compass more than the new technology. It's weird. It's like a weird Luddite thing.
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy the convenience of it, and then I just keep a Lensatic on me at all times anyway. And the Sunto M9s they're not like bad. They're not incredible.
I mean, they're just a quick at a glance. You're
Yeah.
not. You're definitely not shooting a fucking exact grid. But
Yeah,
it's great if you're like I said, if you're a team leader or squad leader and you're in like a gun team, like, hey, look, fucking your limits of advance, your sector stakes, your leftmost sector stake is at like, whatever this degree is. Within like a 5-degree margin of error, you're probably fine.
Dude, in Boy Scouts, I bought a Sunto. My first compass was a Sunto A10, and I bought it specifically because it said A10 on it.
My God, I have a Sunto floating around somewhere. I have a few. I have a Brunson dummy corded to my chest rigs admin pouch, and I've used it. Like I've just pulled it out, and it's got like a whistle dummy corded to it as well. I just have like this fucking little dangly thing.
Yo, since we last recorded, did we have all the Epstein files out when we recorded last, or was that between?
Probably between. It's been a minute.
It's been several months. We now live in a different world than the world that when we last recorded.
They said that the majority of the Epstein files were released by the Department of Justice between December 19th and January 30th.
Yeah, that's like when we recorded our last episode.
Probably, to be honest.
Probably just didn't get to it.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't all out back then. Like they weren't like as like categorized, like easy to find.
Yeah, maybe. I think that it was pretty funny that people found that it's super easy to unredact it all.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, highlight the censored parts. Oh fuck, look, it's all the fucking letters.
Dude, stop telling people how to uncensor my ASOG documents. The hell.
They're gonna find out
They're gonna find out all the silly words I put in there.
I know, dude. They're gonna find out what we really put under the black bars.
Oh no! Add that to the iceberg,
dude. What was the really funny thing in the iceberg?
There's a few things in there.
There was like man, I can't hold on, let me pull up the iceberg meme. It was very funny. I remember spending some time at it one morning. I was like, man, this is actually really good work. It's here we go. I gotta keep going.
Geo ASOG declassified a document about the connection to the RT-64 radio telescope in Bear Lake in Russia and Mars. That's what we're looking at right now.
In the very bottom, it just says time runs backwards in the vault. You're reading this from the wrong side. Inverted shadows.
What's the one that says like Pierce something?
Pierce was never Pierce.
Classic.
The black saucer from 1918 still listens.
Yeah, I love that one.
Antarctic frozen suns.
I think I went to the States in between our last recording and now, and I think you sent me a bunch of shirts, and they got there the day after I left.
Did you get the patch at least?
I did. I got the leather patch. That made it somehow.
Dude, the leather patch fiasco. That's crazy that you got that.
By the way, we are just killing time because we have someone else joining, but it was like too late to start any later.
Yeah.
So we're like kind of stalling right now. But yeah, I mean it has been a while since we've posted. I think that it's just been kind of hectic lately. I mean, we had another kid, so I've been kind of like taking a step back from everything, like on baby leave, basically. But I mean, other than that, I mean, Joe's been super, super busy.
Life got very strange for me.
Yeah, and like, the podcast started in like 2021 timeframe, 2020, end of 2020. So. And like over the years, I mean, it's kind of progressed quite a bit, I would say. And like when we like turned into 2026, we had the idea to do a lot more stuff, and then everything started getting immediately busy.
We had hopes for so much motion,
dude. We had a lot.
We had like plans, dude.
Yeah,
and we still do.
have them.
We still have them. Yeah, it's just like, yeah,
But
it's just, yeah, life got complicated.
I'm just convinced that we run off of podcast season and non-podcast season. Where like podcast season is like 100% like fighting season.
Well, we've got through half the year already, so.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, we partnered with Cytax Media, so we were like, we had all these media plans, but that's really not going to pick up until like the fall, just because of where people are at and stuff.
Well, we had a bunch of people we wanted to have on. Then it was like SHOT Show for like, that seems like that lasts a month.
Yes,
and then then they get back from that, and then you're like, oh well, now we have this other crap we have to do, or stuff just doesn't line up. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
and then just gets away from you, unfortunately. But
and then you've been doing the big rig stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the big rig stuff.
I got a big rig.
Yeah, he's not only forklift certified, he's also big rig certified now.
Yep, watch out.
The big rig.
The 18 John.
How was that?
It's way easier than I thought it was going to be. And seeing down into people's cars was really weird.
Yeah, we were talking about that because, like whenever we end up going to the field, we'll end up taking, buses there. But then you end up seeing, like into everybody's cars. It's very funny.
It made me more like careful of the way I drive. I'm like, like I stopped like just like permanently just having my phone in my hand while I drive, which is kind of crazy to admit, but it is.
How are you gonna watch Temple Run and
I'm doing YouTube playables while I drive. Hopefully no one knows what those are.
All I do is play Snake.
Yeah.
On a Nokia.
Yes.
The OG game.
Shoot, what was it? And then you know what else we were doing was we were working with some people. It's crazy because like we've tried to like record a little episode to like fill you guys in what's been going on, and even that's been like impossible. Like we recorded it like I think twice maybe. And
we were going to do the one, and then it ended up like it just wasn't good, or something came up, and then wait till they find out how many podcasts I've ruined that they'll never hear. Well, and then we did another one, and then I just accidentally sat on it for too long, and the recording got deleted.
Yeah, but yeah, so we were what we said in the other one was we were also working with some like we're working with Cytax, who I'm sure we'll have on at some point to yap about what we've been working on, and then we're working with
he's just on the other side of the world.
Some more at the moment, some more like visual media stuff, like not just photos, like video stuff with on the ASOG side, and that's been interesting, but it's not something you can just like be specific about before anything happens. You know what I mean? So there's some cool stuff that's going on. I think that once we get a handle on this year, hopefully by 2027, hey, there we go.
No way.
The secret third guy has joined.
This episode is a year in the making. More.
We have enlisted the assistance of Mr. Brown,
the stallion of audacity.
Disgusting.
Do not dead name this man.
Do not dead name this man at all.
No, do not dead name this man.
I've gone by many monikers over the years. I think Tempered Stoic was the most recent on Instagram.
Oh, he dead named himself. Everybody take a drink.
Everybody take a drink. Oh,
is that what we're doing?
I'll take a second drink. Darcy.
Yeah, instead of Darcy, now I guess it's still something.
The M in Mr. Brown stands for massive. Massive Brown.
I was trying to go back to the old TV show days.
It's like That's like in. Remember how we were talking like a couple months ago about that show, The Unit, that was like on ABC, I think.
What a great show.
Yeah, it was, because I started watching them while I was at work, like while I was working. Because I'll usually have like YouTube playing or something while I work, just to
What
like
show?
The Unit.
Dude, I haven't heard of that. That's like The Unit is like Strike Back era. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
It's like early 2000s.
The only episode I remember is that everyone, like when I mentioned the show, someone was like, "You have to watch the episode where they do like their little like seer exercise."
Oh yeah,
You have to watch that one. And I
Oh,
watched
dude,
it.
that's actually crazy. I never heard of this, but it reminded me, like, my instructor at that CDL school was like some ex-military dude, and he was like, I was like, asked him what he did, and he said he was in the unit, and I just thought he was being like a boomer, like just saying some random stuff about what he did. Maybe he was in the unit, dude. Like,
no, he was in the TV show.
Yeah,
he's the Allstate guy.
She was just like an extra.
He's the upstate guy.
Dude would say some
like-
out of pocket
He was like the
stuff.
leader or something, wasn't he?
He was like the dude stocking shelves in the PX.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like disparage this guy right now, but he
Well,
said
it's like-
some crazy stuff.
Is he
It's
like
like,
is he like the guy that was one of the
My other job?
one of the CDL driving instructors that had an MP5?
No, it was a different guy. Completely different person. Bro just had an MP5 just chilling on his front seat at all times.
Yeah, CDL actually stands for counter drug ligma. I don't know.
That was a stretch. That was good.
Yeah, Ligma's good.
Ligma always hits right. I'm gonna be honest. Dude, you know what was so funny was that like that whole phase where the D's nuts guy was really popular. That was in like high school for me, I think, like 2012, 2013 time frame. And I just remember seeing that for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." And then, like the second time, I was like, "This guy's annoying me."
You know what? I used one of those lines the other day. Someone mentioned dragons, and I just said,
Classic.
Yeah, my
or CDs.
my wife showed our kids Dragon Tales recently. Do you remember that show?
Of course.
Yes. And so they were talking about dragons a lot. It took everything in me not to.
Yeah, dragons.
To take a wholesome show and just like literally
Yes.
drag it through the mud.
Yeah, exactly. For
Dragon.
like 3 seconds of me laughing and nobody else.
Dude, I used to think that like, did you guys ever see that show Veggie Tales?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I used to think that was like something I made up.
No,
Because it was so like, I thought it was like an unhinged memory I crafted as a child, but like turns out that shit was real.
Yeah, they had Christmas specials and all.
Yeah.
The animation is horrifying looking back at it, actually.
I saw something recently where there was a Reddit post where somebody was complaining because they put on Veggie Tales for their kid, thinking that it was just some show about talking vegetables, and they didn't realize that it was a Christian show.
Right.
And they're like, basically, like their kid, their toddler, or whomever, started asking them about like God, and they're like,
That's
"What are you
awesome.
talking about?" Because they were like,
Got
they were
'em.
Redditors, so obviously they're
Got 'em.
God.
yeah.
But
Yeah, my only memory of Veggie Tales was the episode where they killed Bin Laden.
What episode is this?
Yeah, no, dude.
It's
they wrapped that in with the Easter special.
It was like around this time of year, right after the Bin Laden raid. They just had the episode ready, and they just put out all these vegetables just fast roping into a bottom ad, and they just shot Bin Laden. It's really weird.
They crashed the black.
Is this
hole
like
and
the
everything.
bootleg version of like what they
No, of
warn
course
you
not.
about on
It'll never be the
YouTube?
bootleg.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You
You
know
know
what
what?
their
You know what
show-
that reminds me of? There was this one YouTube video where like they had like these like animals.
Squidward suicide.
No, it wasn't.
Oh my god.
No, it was like called Cat Shit One or some shit. I don't know if any of y'all saw it, but it was like this rabbit and like these other little like anthropomorphic animals, but they were like SAS dudes. And they
Oh
were-
yeah.
and they were fighting like Taliban animals or some shit. They were getting in like gunfights. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, but this was like the YouTube era where like there was like it wasn't full of like slop, so you just got random ass shit, and that was one of the random things.
Oh, dude, it's a 3-volume manga from 2004.
Yeah, dude, fuck, man, those rabbits have been fighting in the GWAT for longer than most of us.
That's actually crazy.
The only YouTube video I've ever seen is Unforgivable.
Weren't the bad guys like camels too?
Yeah, they were camels. Of course they were.
The first one, they were a reconnaissance team in Vietnam.
Oh man, I don't know if I've seen that one.
And then they were
what race animal are the Vietnamese?
And the second one was the second one was the SAS in the 1980s, and then the third one was the Middle East in 2000. They made that one in 2010. Huh?
That's wild.
It's fucking crazy.
I should relook into that.
Yeah, this is old lore. This is Unk lore, Unk GWAT lore.
It was made by Motofumi Kobayashi.
He was totally clued in.
Yeah, but no, dude. Speaking of like early GWAT video, or not early GWAT videos, but like units used to just put up like their like unit highlight reels. It was so weird. You'd see like it'd be like the 457th like brigade support battalion, and it'd be like them like messing around in their hooches, and then interspersed would be like convoy ambushes and like hitting IEDs and shit. I'd be like, what the fuck am I watching? And that's why I enlisted.
Didn't Mr. Brown over here? Didn't you tell me that you got in trouble for posting like a post deployment video one time?
Yeah, like we had a thing like at the end of deployment. This is back in like 2011. They were like, "Hey, every organization part of this task force needs to put together like a deployment video." And at the time, I was part of an aviation brigade, and like doing LURSD stuff. And so we built out this like super sick like moto like GWAT like smoking dudes, capturing dudes video. And then we everybody came together as this task force, and they put it on like a big screen up in like the op center, and we were all watching it, and they're like, yeah, no. And I'm like, oh man, that's already up on YouTube too. And they're like, absolutely not.
Like, my grandma's already seen this. Everyone at Walmart.
Yeah, they're like, you need to like absolutely. They tried to like demote me, and
whoa,
yeah, which was like it got snuffed out because like my chain of command, like my company chain of command, had like asked me to make the video because I'm always the dude that carries around a camera, and like I don't know, I always take pictures of people and all sorts of stuff. But
was it like that? Like what was that, Tyler? What's that video we always talk about? The MSOB CQB.
Oh, like that Ranger Raid,
the Ranger Raid, the compilation with like, dude, they have like cuts still on YouTube of like dudes' freaking heads like exploded.
Oh no, you're talking about the other one.
No, there was
MSOB CQB or whatever towards the middle.
I don't think they killed anyone in it. I think like
no, but they spliced in still photographs of dudes' heads literally exploded. But anyway,
those are called deer hunter photos, where you get down on a knee and you like take a picture next to the dude, all canoed.
Gnarly
deer hunter photos, yeah.
Gnarly. You make sausage from them too.
No, just the rib meat.
I think YouTube was like the most powerful recruitment tool. Like I know they call video games and all this other shit, but all the stuff you could see on YouTube was like, and like Funker 530 and pages like that.
Back in the day,
it would just be like, it would have these like titles like SAS firefight in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, and it's like the SAS
like
and a bunch of Marines just like shooting people.
They were just slinging grenades.
Yeah, they're just fucking.
See, like Tyler, isn't it nice to talk about the GWAT and not get ridiculed?
Dude, you talk about the GWAT. Old.
We haven't been able to talk about the GWAT in a little while because of the people we've been talking to.
Yeah, all we've been able to talk about is how great Tim Kennedy was for throwing all those grenades.
Yeah, he's the real hero of the
50
GWAT.
grenades.
If they had given Tim Kennedy one more grenade, we would have just won.
I just imagine him like Uncle Rico. Like, how much you want to bet I can throw a grenade over the mountains?
I'll throw a grenade over the bitch.
I would have gone pro.
Coach would have if the platoon commander would have put me in the last game, I would have gone pro.
I would have made SF if they just sent me the selection.
Dude, I would feel bad for Tim Kennedy because like he had like his heyday where he was like a UFC fighter and like you didn't really know much about him. So like you would just be like, wow, this dude was a ranger and he was special forces and he was a UFC fighter. He must.
I don't know. He
coolest
wasn't a
dude
ranger.
ever.
I don't think. Wasn't he an 18X?
I don't know, man.
Or,
I had the opportunity to roll with him like in our fight house.
Really?
Yeah, like years ago, and I will tell you that dude is built like a brick shit house. Like he is like super solid, but he is also the biggest twat out there.
I have no doubt in my mind he could kick my ass, but it's just like dog. Like I think I would still just laugh throughout the entire thing because of who's doing it. And it's like it's such a fucked up thing to say. Like I'd be there with like my like less than a year of Muay Thai experience,
and he'd
like
be
trying
there.
to like keep him and just laughing, just like I can't do this, man.
Just the struggle snuggle.
Yeah, if he got me down on the ground, I'd just die. No
Well,
groundwork.
Didn't you know a couple people that confirmed that the whole story was true? For like a bunch of guys jumped him in the parking lot because he was being annoying.
Yeah, no, I mean that's happened multiple times. I mean, like
To him or in general?
to him, like he's gotten confronted a handful of times by like dudes he worked with. Like I know his former team sergeant, and they like called him out and basically were like, "Yo, like you need to chill the fuck out. We're gonna beat the fuck out of you." And they ended up like taking him into the dojo overseas and like just running through him.
My boy's at 6.
So they ran him wet and put him out to fucking
Just out to pasture. Yeah.
I don't know. I fell into watching that whole breakdown of like his book that he wrote on that convoy or whatever, and the guys that were just debunking everything about it. I think I was on orders for like a cast range for a week, and I was just listening to it whenever I'd go to lunch because I would just sit there and pick apart pieces of a rotisserie chicken and listen to stuff.
That's so sad.
the true field food.
And
I told you about my
whole
21st
thing.
birthday, right? Where we ran out of food.
What's that?
My 21st birthday was at Fort Hood, and it's nothing glamorous. It's nothing fun or exciting, but I love telling people the story as to why. Because like people ask me, like it's a thing now. I'm starting to see memes about it. Like, oh, like a real man won't take his birthday off. You know, you'll just go to work. So I went to work on my birthday. They asked for volunteers like a week prior, and they're like, hey, look, a bunch of the guys are on leave. We just got back from the field. Some of you guys, I know, you know, the last thing you want to do is go out there, but this isn't like a field exercise. You're just going to be guarding tank grounds for this armored company while they do gunnery. So you're just going to be sitting by these pallets. You're not going to do anything. So it was like 6 of us. And there was this one dude who had just had a kid born, and he was picked for the detail. He was voluntold, of course. And I was just like, nah, man, you fucking stay, dude. You just had a kid. I'll go out there. It's fine. It's whatever. And they told us it was just going to be 2 days. It was not 2 days. It was like a week. And they only gave us food for 2 days. So they gave us like 2 MRE boxes. And we went through them in 2 days. And then the 3rd and the 4th days came. I had to call dude, it got so bad that for my 21st birthday, we were under no oversight. The highest ranking person was a corporal. And we were like out in the middle of nowhere with no vehicle or anything. We all got dropped off by LMTV. And we're just out there with fucking doing nothing, hungry, you know, just smoking cigarettes and dipping. And
At least you had cigarettes.
well, the rapidly dwindling supply of cigarettes, because we only brought 2 days worth of cigarettes.
Which
Anyways,
are all
we got-
burned in the first 12 hours.
Yeah, so we got hungry, so we started fucking like trying to forage, and we found a cow. And we heavily considered just killing this cow. And,
That would
and
not
if
have
you know
gone
anything
well.
about animals, if you know anything about livestock on military bases, like they are 100% tracked, and if one of them dies, the army has to fucking pay a fuck ton of money. So we didn't kill the cow because we knew this from almost killing cows through gunnery, different, you know, gunneries and stuff like that. So what we did is we found crawfish and LMTV ruts, and we collected like 3 canteen cups full of crawdads, and they're small. They're like, you know, like no bigger than like the length of your finger type shit.
They've literally been
fucking
spawning in like
boiled them.
cesspool and bacteria.
Oh, dude, yeah. No, think about it. This is
The
a gunnery
irradiated
for
puddle.
tanks. So you've got these are ruts created by tracks and LMTVs filled with water from God knows when. We grabbed all these crawdads and we boiled them in the same water, and then we seasoned them with MRE, salt, and pepper, and we ate them for like. We just ate crawdads for like 2 days.
Yo, happy birthday, dude.
Yeah, happy birthday, man.
You and I have
like,
the Cajun themed birthday.
Yeah, dude. So I was just eating like fucking, like gunpowder filled.
Just Chernobyl crawdads.
Yeah,
Depleted uranium crawdad.
dude. We were so over it that the coolest part when the tanks are doing their gunnery next to us, like, was just like boring. We were just sitting there, like I was just trying to sleep through like these fucking Abrams just firing off at
Demoralized.
Just demoralized. But my one of our NCOs, like we were able to get it. We had no signal, so one of us hiked out to like a fucking hilltop, and then like called him, and is just like, "Hey man, we're still here and we don't have any food or anything." And this motherfucker, this is what I miss about the military. This motherfucker went to Walmart and bought us like $100 worth of like food, snacks, and of course nicotine, and drove his fucking shitty little Tercel out to the fucking where we were. He's like, "Hey, where are you guys at?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know, but here's a grid." And he just drove out to the grid and dropped us off like cases of Mountain Dew and Monster and fucking. And after that, it was fine.
Then you had to go home. Like, it was like you got relieved 3 hours later.
He was just like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "It's fine. We're here. We're gonna do this till we're done." And come to find out later, the reason why it took so long is because like 2 of their tankers went to go use a porta-john during like one of their night fire lanes on a different part of the base. And they got fucking stung by black widows in the ass that were living in the porta-johns.
New fear unlocked. I didn't know that this was
Super new fear, dude. We were like terrified.
Oh yeah.
And so these dudes had to get like medevaced and everything because they didn't know what the fuck was going on with them. They're like, "Wow, man, what's going on?"
Are the Black Widows? Because I know that between the Black Widows and the Brown Recluse, like one of them is not painful, but they're obviously both deadly. But one of them is like extremely painful, like immediately.
I think it's a Brown Recluse.
Oh, dude! When we at that FTX, Tyler, when we kind of bedded down by that construction site, I was like, there's a porta-john there, so I when we know that obviously, but it was like crazy, like the thought that we were going to be able to use a porta-john. But I inspected that thing like extra good. I was like down in there. Yeah, dude, I was way out in that thing because I've never used a porta-john at night before, so that's like specifically the reason why I checked.
Yeah, usually I'll walk in, I'll check the corners, and I'll just sit down.
If you're a hero, what I always check is above me, dude, because that's where the fucking spiders hang out.
Yeah.
But if you're a real hero, what you do is you crack a chem light and just drop it in.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, good idea.
Or now you just hover it. Like, actually, that was always the funny thing about porta-johns overseas was like, because you'd have like locals using them, like the dudes working on base. What they would do is they would stand on either side of the toilet and like squat, like a squatty potty, like they do in like
Asian countries.
Yeah, I mean, like
Asiatic style.
They poop in holes in the floor, right? So they would like step up on top of the little part that you sit down on, and they would squat. So then, as a result, the sides would start sagging down on either side of the toilet seat, and then like obviously it would like if you got water in there, or when they'd like clean them out and everything, you just have these pools of like nasty water on either side of the toilet. And so you'd always like look in there and be like, "Yeah, not this one today, man." Like, I'm
dude,
good.
I got a worse one, and this was CONUS. So I was at NTC, which fun, exciting NTC story. We were in Aruba, and I guess the porta-john company went on strike, so they weren't cleaned for like a week. And when I kid you, and the bathrooms in the little like cantonment area weren't working, so you only could use the porta-johns and like the showers in the bathrooms. It's the only thing that worked, and the sinks. But the toilets didn't work. Dude, the shit stacked up to the rim of the fucking porta-john. A row of 20 porta-johns. It was the worst. I had an emergency shit. Like, emergency.
Is that when you just go in the urinal?
Dude, I was about to. I wouldn't have made it.
Push it through the little plastic grate with your
I had to
fingers.
hover. I had to hover over the porta-john, and I just shat on a pile of shit.
I feel like
And
we
it
were
was-
just talking about waffle stomps the other day.
Dude, this is worse. Like, dude,
That happens to me every day.
it was. I kid you not. The shit piled to the rim of the fucking porta. Like, if you sat on the seat, you were just gonna get your ass smeared.
Bro,
With
oh my
everyone,
god.
with the entire United States Army shit. It was horrible, dude.
And it's
It was
just
so
MRE shit.
You
too.
sit down and it's just like
No,
like
it
gets
wasn't
sucked
MRE
up
shit
in your
because they had a
blood
gut
little.
truck. They had a gut truck selling like burritos and shit. So you had just like the gnarliest evil coming out of your fucking stomach.
Hell yeah.
Dude, Gio, did I tell? I don't know. Were you here when we were talking about how a bunch of people got norovirus at Winterforge this past one?
I think I was there. Yeah, you
Oh my god, dude! Under night vision, I'm watching my friend like fire out of both sides of him, like feet, like different, like 3 feet, 4 feet in either direction. It was fucking disgusting, dude. Like
Those are the memories that stick with you.
Oh,
It's never like
man.
the cool stuff you do. Like
We
we had
Yeah,
to drop chem lights everywhere because we were like find the puddles and drop chem lights because we can't have people like slipping in this stuff.
Like I can't remember like some of like the training
Oh.
exercises I've done that were like really cool, or like SF dudes gave us like fucking blue bolts and shit, and we're doing all this craziness. I remember some of it, but I don't remember a lot of it. But fuck, man, ask me if I remember some of my worst shits in the army, and I can tell you with extreme detail.
Well, that's when you're like in a patrol base and under night vision, you like turn around and look back in, and you just see one of your buddies over the slit trench with a big old monkey tail coming out, and like, just a big old gut snake just dropping, and
Dude,
you're just like, damn,
I couldn't
dude.
see his face through the knots, but I couldn't see his eyes through the knots, but I knew that motherfucker winked at me when he shat.
Those always feel good.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
But there's no joy like surface shitting. I don't care who you are. No joy.
Just landmining it.
That's a very funny thing to like there was a guy that was in my unit where he was really, really, really good at peeing, like very incognito.
He was really good at peeing. What the fuck? Yeah, I would hope so.
Tyler's a competitive peer.
No, dude, we would
His
wake
shit was strong.
up in the morning, and he told me what his method was we'd all be like waking up and people would be like packing their tents and or like sleeping bags away and all that stuff, and he would just be like on the edge of the bivouac site, like staring at the sunrise, and then he'd come back, and I'm like, yeah, or whatever. He'd say something to me, and he's like, yeah, I just took like the longest piss of my life. And I'm like, are you
Those are the
serious? I
best.
was like, nobody noticed because he would just do it so nonchalantly with his hands in his pockets and stuff. And then
just
I
monkey pulling it.
I realized that this guy is like really good at this. And one time we were doing like our
So you started watching him. Yeah, nice.
well, yeah. So I started studying this guy up close.
Yeah, nice watch, man. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. like, oh, I didn't notice that mole last month. You should get that checked out.
Hey, man.
but we
could have
were
a
at the
promising
range.
career as a UPL, as a urinalysis guy.
I've had to do that before. We were at
I
the
bet
range.
you have. Fuck.
We were like down in the pits to like operate all the target stands, and he's just standing on the edge of where it's at, just pissing out. Like, obviously somebody would get mad if they saw that, but he did it so nonchalant that it was crazy.
I
And
got
then
a
at
better
one
one.
point,
Dude.
we were all standing in a circle. We were talking. We were like, oh yeah, like so-and-so is really good at just pissing incognito. And we're talking about like stories or like encounters where we've turned the corner and then like realized that he was pissing. And like
There is
while we're
no-
talking about this, he starts doing it. And we didn't know until he was
There is-
pretty much done.
there is no better
Like,
piss
they
than
start
one-
dying laughing. And they're like, he's pissing right now. And we all look down and we're like,
He's doing it now.
There's no better piss than pissing while you're like rucking or like on.
Yes, dude, while moving. Yes.
Yeah, while moving.
Don't do that. Extremely bad practice.
You just,
So
you
but it-
gotta
but
spread your
it's
legs out
so
and kind of
legit.
waddle.
Yeah.
we-
Especially at night when you could just let her hang out and no one, just no one cares.
Speaking of
Brother, you do that during
UPL
the
stuff,
state,
we used
the
to
fucking
have
military.
You can't see my meat on nods.
That small, huh? Fuck, man.
Too small.
I wouldn't be playing that.
You need the telescope attachment for the 14.
You can only see it under red nods because it's a nightmare.
Yeah, you need the red filter.
It's the demon.
It looks like a gargoyle.
You got that evil. You got that evil Schmeat.
Hey, man, it's fine if you got to take a piss while you're patrolling, but can you please turn off the fucking IR illuminator when you do?
You're like, what's with the white light? You're like, I want to make sure it's not hitting all my stuff on the way down.
You just put one of those, like, you know, like those glow sticks you get at like little party, like kids parties that are like a they're like long and thin and they bend.
Yeah, like those
you just wear one of those so you can always keep track of it, like in the dark.
That's the worst thing is when you have to pee while you're in kit, and then like you're listening for the water for like the pee to hit the ground, and you're like,
you don't hear it.
You're like, this is taking way too long.
You're just peeing on your gloves, clip your belt.
You're pissing like just peeing into your dangler.
Dude, what happened was back in like January, we went shooting, and so we get to the spot, and like everyone kits up and stuff, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go pee before we go do this, and I had forgotten my nice like insulated Kuyu gloves, so I had like the little like fleece glove liners. So I'm like, I guess I'll just wear these because it was like -10 that day, and I'm like, all right, I gotta go pee. So I take them off, and I'm just like holding them in my hand, and I'm going to pee, and like I've got all my stuff on, and all my friends are like, oh, you're gonna pee on your glove. And I thought that they were talking about my gloves that I was holding. So like I looked down, like, all right, like, they're out of the way. I'm going to pee. I finish going, and then I close everything back up, and I look, and I was only holding one glove, and one had fallen on the ground, and that's the one that they were talking about. I covered it in piss. It was so cold out, and I had no other gloves. And I was like, oh, I have no other choice, so I just wore it.
No, even worse. I got a worse one, dude. So same vein. So we were in Romania, and
same veiny one.
So our unit had nothing better to do, and for like
the big showboat, I really need to go.
2CR,
vascular.
Yeah. So 2CR was there, and they got like all the attention, but we were there as the op4, and we barely did shit. So we were in the same barracks like hall as the British unit that was there. And so I guess our platoon sergeants got together and concocted like a field exercise, just like because they were like, neither of us are doing anything, and we're here, and we have all these fucking blanks, and we have all these soldiers. So like, we did like a little force on force. So they decided to ruck out like 20 fucking miles. We drove out there, but so we thought they were going to get there much sooner because we also thought they were driving out there. So we thought it was going to be like a 2-hour exercise in the day. Brother, we were laying in, and this part of Romania is flat as a fucking pancake. It's like a tanker's wet dream. It's just flat with like very slight hills, and it's just grass. There's no trees. There's no nothing. It's just grass fucking plains. And it got so fucking cold. We set up this huge fucking perfect defense of nothing. There was like a small trench line. That's all it was. And I was in one of the positions with the saw, and I was freezing because none of us packed anything, because we thought we were just going to be out there for like 2 hours. And it got so cold from the wind chill that like a few of us just decided to just like, dude, fuck it, I don't care anymore. So what I did is I pissed on my hands because I was fucking shivering. I was like, dude, I gotta get some warmth somewhere. So I just pissed on my hands, dude. I'm not proud of it, but
makes the gummy bear spicy.
So really, my hands felt. It was the nuttiest thing ever.
They immediately froze.
No, they didn't freeze because it wasn't freezing. It was just a wind chill. Holy fuck.
Me when my hands are warm and then immediately cold because the wind hit the piss covering them.
I was thinking of a funny.
You gotta pee in your gloves.
Dude, yeah, I didn't even have gloves, man. I was a fucking saw gunner, so I didn't like wearing gloves because I had to fucking manipulate the links or whatever. And whenever I would wear gloves, they were always like slightly too big for whatever reason. I would just get unlucky, and they'd get caught in the fucking charging handle or the feed tray. So I just wouldn't wear gloves when I'm using the saw. So I was
you just gotta borrow one of the gloves from a mortarman
and piss it.
Yeah, fill it with pee. It's like in.
Are we Bear Grylls-ing it now?
Yeah, dude. Fuck, man. I don't know,
Just
man.
pissing
Your
in snake
experience
skins?
must have been way different because mine was just covered with piss and shit. Insane.
It's like in Of Mice and Men how the guy has the glove that he always put Vaseline in to keep his hand smooth. But
yes, dude,
pretty
that stuck with me as from a kid. I always thought that was like the creepiest thing I've ever heard.
Fucking masturbator.
Mr. Brown, you know what he's talking about?
No.
In that story of Mice and Men, this like the warden or whoever, I don't know.
the guy
he's-
that's like in charge of their little retard camp that they're.
I would,
He's
have,
like-
I would have to go back.
He
It's
would
been-
wear like one glove and it was just filled with Vaseline, and he's like, I like to keep this hand like soft for my woman or something. And I was just like, I don't know, the imagery of just like wearing a glove filled with Vaseline just always freaked me out.
Sounds horrible.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say before?
Oh, I was gonna say funny pissing story. Like when I was in the Q course, we used to like go up to from Bragg, go up to Chapel Hill, and all the college towns. You know, they're like an hour and a half away. But we went up and I had a buddy in the course I was with who had a friend that went to Wake Forest, and so we went up and stayed with him for a weekend. And obviously, like copious amounts of booze, drinking. But we were all crashing at his place, and I had one friend who ended like 18 Delta. He ended up getting domed later on and survived in a green on blue. But that's another story. But he was sleeping on one of those like massive like beanbag kind of chair beds. And
Sounds terrible for the old back.
and my other friend got up, and it was like he was blackout, but he like went and took a knee, like because he just had to pee. But he took a knee next to this dude sleeping on this beanbag and started like peeing on him, like. And so
Nice.
he's like, this guy wakes up like, and he's getting pissed on, like on his head, on his back, everything. And he like looks at this dude, like gets hit in the face by the stream, proceeds to punch this dude right in the dick. And the guy who's like on a knee taking a piss on him, like midstream goes like, and like stops for a second, and then continues peeing. And dude, you want to talk about two dudes covered in urine, just like getting in the biggest fight on a soaked beanbag chair? It's like pay-per-view, man. Like that's.
You ever fought another man in a piss-soaked beanbag?
Very similar start to that story happened one time. It was like a private like personal training thing. Like me and a bunch of buddies were just out doing stuff, and so we got there like Friday night, and then we just were hanging out for that night, and then we were gonna start Saturday morning. And the one guy goes to bed, and he like gets in his Gore-Tex and his sleeping bag and everything under the basically like right behind his truck. And he lays down, and we had like a little fire going off to the side and everything because we're just kind of hanging out at this point. And the one guy goes over and he goes away so he can go take a piss, and he had a dip in, and he like spits this huge thing of dip and starts peeing, and it was right on the Gore-Tex like the Gore-Tex dippy. The one guy, he's like, oh no. Immediately the guy peeing just starts laughing. And it took him a while, and then he just kind of turned and kept going. He's like laughing about the fact that he just walked up to a random spot in the dark and was like, all right, this is a good spot to piss.
Dude, I was gonna kill this kid. He peed in my canteen. We were in like one of those 8-man Arctic tents, and it was so cold out, and they're like rotating watches or whatever. And I guess when it was his turn on the fire watch to watch the stove, he must have thought it was like his canteen. And so I wake up and I'm gonna pee in my own canteen.
That's fucking worse.
I went to go piss in my own canteen. I open it and I'm like, because it's got my name on it. So I'm like, why is there someone else's? I didn't pee in this canteen. Like I emptied it specifically, and somebody else's piss was in it. I was so mad, dude.
Dog, y'all could have dug a fucking hole in the dirt. And
dude. You gotta have the piss jug. I'm a piss jug guy. I like my whole room. I got a room in my house devoted to piss jugs. Are you kidding?
I hate you so much.
I will never.
I hate you so much. You're treating your own home like a damn fucking beach, dude.
All right, relax.
Fucking bunker. That's insane. But anyways, dude, when I used to be a truck driver, there have been times where I've just been driving nonstop, other than to refuel, for like fucking hours. And of course, you're sitting there and you're just sipping on your Camelback or fucking drinking a Monster or smoking cigarettes as a driver, which you shouldn't do, but I did it anyways. And sometimes you got to piss, so there's a little like drainage hole in the driver's compartment. And while driving, I would just piss into the drainage hole. I mean, no one could fucking see me, brother. I missed a few times, and I'm not proud of that. This was too much to multitask. Fucking driving.
I've got a worse story than that about peeing and driving, but I will not share it.
Yeah,
at this point,
you drank your piss, didn't you? You reached for the wrong Gatorade bottle.
Did I already tell that story?
Fuck me, man. No, I just guessed. No, man.
Anyway,
I drank my piss because I like.
All right, we're coming up on 60 minutes. I think we got it covered.
No, one more. The only thing worse than drinking piss.
No, one more
would be drinking dip spit.
Oh,
yeah,
I've done that.
That's brutal. Yeah.
Someone else's dip spit? That's the worst, man.
I can't say I've done that. I've drank my own, and that was I violently projectile vomited all over the side of the vehicle.
I've never dipped before in my life. Like, it's so
to
gross.
this day,
it's so good.
You're missing out on a peak piece of military culture.
I never dipped either, but I did drink Gatorade, and it was always a danger because, of course, the best thing to spit your dip in would be, besides the floor, of course, would be a Gatorade bottle, and it would happen quite a bit. And I've seen dudes spit into canteens and then go to drink from it, forgetting that that's their spitter. Dude, it's fucking gnarly.
I had a sergeant major back. This is back in like 2008, 2009. So back like during like the IBA days, right? Like really dating it. But he would like pull out like his combat or his like top and his IBA and like spit down his chest.
What
a fucking animal.
Dude, like he would just like had this massive like horseshoe on the bottom, and he was just like a grizzly GWAT dude, and he would just like spit down his kit, and then he would like take off his IBA at some point, and his whole it looked like he like threw up all down his like shirt. But his whole I have no clue.
Is that like a leave no trace sort of thing, or like what's the deal with that?
Clue.
You just like the feeling.
Yeah, I guess it maybe like the smell.
It must have felt good on like a cold night or something. Like imagine you're just fucking freezing and you're just spitting
just
all
peeing
over
on your
yourself.
hands.
Yeah, peeing on your head. Real fucking hero.
No, I will never use an issued canteen because they're like everybody always just uses them for pee and dip spit. And
it's crazy. It's so weird. I would buy.
I have a separate canteen just for peeing.
Well, there was this one time where I was doing an ITX, and this is like 2016, and I was the RO for this like one of the line companies, and so we get done with everything, like the very final end of it, like we were in a defense, and then we get done, and then everyone's going back, and so I was like, hey, I'm gonna ride with one of the Humvee drivers in the back of the Humvee because I don't want to sit in a 7-ton, and then the guy that I was the RTO for was like, okay, I don't care. So I'm sitting in there, and he's like, oh, I got to drive like so and so, like the one of the more senior enlisted guys back, and I'm like, okay, so I'm just sitting there. And this guy comes in, and he was the company gunny, and so he's like this grizzled, like, E7 that his, like, I saw him at the ball that year, and his ribbons went all the way like over onto his back. It was insane. And he was like the most like salty man I've ever met in my life. And you could tell him the funniest joke he's ever heard in his life, and all he would do is like crack the slightest smile, and then like that's it, like no emotion. And it was funny. But anyway, so where I'm sitting there, and he gets into the Humvee, and he has an AT4 on his shoulder, and I'm like, what's that? And he's like, it's an AT4. And I'm like, well, I know it's an AT4, but like, why do you have it? And he's like, they tried to fire it, didn't go off. So why is it?
I brought it in the truck with me.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm like a very super junior Lance Corporal. So I'm like, I'm not gonna like berate this guy, but I want to know like why he's bringing an AT4 that had a failure to fire into the Humvee. Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, I don't know if it's gonna go off or not. And he knew what I was thinking. He's like, it'll be fine. And so we're sitting there, and the driver is like, hey, Gunny, didn't you lose a canteen? He's like, I've lost a lot of fucking canteens. And he's like, well, there's one up there in the road. And we're like in the middle of the desert. And he just like looks and gets out of the Humvee with his AT4 on his shoulder, walks like 50 yards, picks up this canteen, walks all the way back, gets in the Humvee, opens it up, looks in it a little bit, sniffs it, and takes a drink out of it.
Oh, dude, that guy sounds like a legend.
Yeah, dude, this guy is like he was like he reminded me a lot of like Gunny Highway from Heartbreak Ridge.
Right. Oh, like that. Damn.
Yeah, that was the best way to describe him.
People will hear these stories and still say that the United States won't win in a peer conflict. Like, dog, we do all this nasty shit in just training. Like, dog,
and just laugh it off.
You ever seen that guy like in what was it? We Were Soldiers, where the guy's like, "Oh, good morning, sir." And he's like, "What are you, a fucking weatherman?"
Yeah.
How do you know what kind of damn day it is?
Yeah. All right.
All right, we've hit the hour mark, so all the casuals are gone with the piss talk.
Only the real ones are still here.
All my true GWAT warriors.
So
Standing strong, not scared away from the talk.
Now we can talk about the how
Now
cool
we can talk about all the secret
What's that?
missions.
yeah, we can talk about the Strait of Hormuz now.
Yeah, fuck.
You know what? I don't follow anything that goes on, so I had no idea.
I don't think the Iranians have the gall to piss on their hands, and so I think we would win.
During a training exercise.
I thought we were past the hour mark.
Yeah. Wait. What happened? We are.
They get shot every time Gio talks about pee.
All right.
Straight to pissing on him.
We're past the hour mark. P talk is for after the recording. After the recording,
Someone's gonna have to sit through a fucking hour of bullshit. Literal bullshit to get to fucking.
all right, Tyler, kick it off, Tyler.
Yeah,
please.
so basically, like, what prompted this for us to finally like put it in gear and do another episode was because we were talking in an Instagram group chat that me, Gio, and Mr. Brown are all in, and I had sent something that was about the Epstein files, and so it was a guy who was doing like a little breakdown on there's a very infamous screenshot or leak from the Epstein emails where he's emailing somebody and the guy tells him like, "Oh, I love the torture video," and it's like, okay, like this guy is basically saying that obviously this guy is still active and important because his name is blacked out, it's censored, and the guy starts going into the logistics of everything on like, or not the logistics, but like the timelines. He's saying like, okay, this guy said that he was in the same email thread that he was in China and then he was going to the US and all this. And so he traces it and like just does like a thing of like who was in China at this point, whatever.
Yeah, I have it pulled up. I am in email from Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video. And then from redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. I am in China. I will be in the U.S. second week of May. Sent from my BlackBerry.
Yeah. And so this guy finds out that, it was Benjamin Netanyahu. And so I send this to our group chat because it is interesting. And then the interesting point was brought up of what are you going to do about it, right? Like, what's anyone going to do about it? And so that started to kind of prompt a conversation on like, what's obviously like we can all look at, the Epstein files are a huge thing, or the Epstein emails are a very, damning thing, and a bunch of other stuff going on. And it's obviously not good. But then where's the line? Like, what's the moral way to continue, and like, what's the moral way to go about things and whatnot? So that's why I brought you all here today.
I think ultimately, like you kind of already hit the nail on the head. At this point, it does seem like a massive calling everybody on it. Like, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. And like all this stuff that all these online spheres, like ours included, kind of talk about and train for and prepare for and want to stand against. Like, there has to be a certain line in the sand. And the truth of the matter is like, I don't think anybody. It feels good to prepare for these things, and be that potential bastion of hope. But at the same time, I think they've called our bluff. They've said no balls. Like nobody's going to do anything, and it's at such an elevated level that like, what is there to do? Because I don't think that anybody, and I'm just like blanketing everything right now, but like, I don't think anybody's willing to make the necessary sacrifices to enact real change, and I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that I think that most people talk about or question, like, what would that even look like if one was to make a change? What do you even do? And obviously you can't just like do the redacted and drive into a building and whatever. But
yeah,
you also, it's like, okay, well, if you think about doing it the proper way of getting into local government and working your way up and then getting into like state government and all that stuff, it's like, well, either you're going to get thrown to the dust or you're going to have to join them.
But even if you look at the people that are willing to, that have gone to that level, right, to the point where like you would hope and you would think that they are in positions where they are capable to hold certain people accountable and hold certain actions that have been committed and crimes that have been committed and like just terrible stuff that's been committed, and bring it into the light and hold those people accountable. You watch them try to, but nothing's going to happen. Like these people almost just like laugh about it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like either they're in the position where they could do something and they can do something and they were getting elected or whatever, promoted based on the platform of like, I'm going to do something, and then they just don't do anything, or they tried to do something and they just get kind of chastised and cast to the side is everybody else that's part of the clique is just continuing on and doing all these corrupt things and like taking part in these like literal demonic activities, right? Like you that's the not to derail the whole thing, but like I'm sure that you've looked into like the Bohemian Grove stuff and like read about
it. Dude, the wild.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that like tipped me off to all of this originally, that this was all like a thing that was occurring, was that in because you used to hear the stuff where they'd be like, oh, like Hillary Clinton eats babies, and you're like, okay. And then but then what happened was we were coming back from the field, and we had a pretty long bus ride back to like home. And right as that happened, I this is like I don't know when this came out, probably like 2018 or 2019 maybe. 2018. But there was the Finders documents that were released. Did you ever read those, or like are you familiar with those?
The spark notes of it, like not enough to like be educated or speak on it.
Yeah, well, I had like a 6-hour bus ride, so I was reading into the Finders documents for that, and basically what the gist of it is it's an official FBI.gov like release, and they had released this whole thing where they were documenting that they were following this child trafficking ring, and they were putting together their suspects, and they had found that like some of their suspects had crossed paths, more than once, and we're obviously like in a network together, and they had done all this work, right? The FBI had been working like super hard to put all this stuff together and figure all this stuff out, and who is who and whatnot. And then they planned, if I'm remembering correctly, they planned like a simultaneous, basically like a black van thing on all of them, where pull up and just kind of snatch them and drive off. And they did it, and then it turned out every single one of these guys that they snatched were employed by the CIA. And then
they had like jobs, like and computers with like government stuff on it, and like the kids were just kind of like running around on the property.
Yeah. And there was like all this stuff that went into it, and it's like, well, that's like their job is, if being employed is literally to do like do these unspeakable things that are just insane. And
it's crazy, but it's not surprising. I mean, in the 50s and 60s, you would hear about in South Florida, that you read this decades later in like documents, but you'd come, there'd be like some park ranger in the Everglades, and you'd come across like a whole fucking like company-sized element of like Cuban exiles like training to like kill people.
I never heard that.
Like oh yeah, dude, this happened a few times. They would find like someone like these Cuban exile groups that now are terror groups. So it's just funny how the favors turn as time goes on. But they would be out there in the Everglades training. It's why sometimes you go out on some of these fucking dirt roads in South Florida, you find a lot of like, just like I found like links and casings, and you can only assume like, if someone's firing a belt fed out there, like those aren't exactly common. So this isn't some like, some looky-loo just coming out from getting his Draco at the pawn shop and dumping a fucking mag. This is someone with a belt fed. And, the park rangers would come there and they'd call the police, and all these cops would show up, and then some dude, they'd either, whoever the commander was on the ground for the police or whoever would just get a call and be like, you need to let every one of those people go.
Crazy, dude.
Or some guy would show up and just be like, yeah, dude, I don't know who you think you are.
These are my terrorists, actually.
These are my guys. These are my Cubans. And like, you got to go. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's like, you're going to get a call right now from your chief. And then the call would come through and be like, you got to let these people go. Like, you didn't.
That reminds me of, do you remember a couple of years ago when that video came out of that like compound under like a pile of tires in the middle of the desert?
Wasn't it down in like New Mexico or something?
I think so. And it was like tunnels filled with like children's like, like bedding and like a shoot house, which is like, it was like set up to be like a shoot house. And it was just like covered in like, like kids sized beds and blankets and things. And you're like, I remember watching the video of like, they drove like an EOD robot through it. It wasn't even like tall enough to stand up in fully. And you're just like, what? And you never heard about it again, of course. And then they filled it in or blow it up or something. And you're just like, wait, what was that though?
But it does beg the question. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I think a lot has come to light in the past few months and years, right? With the whole Epstein thing and all this stuff. But I mean, like, how much more just in that same vein,
vascular vein.
That vascular vein is going on. That's kind of in that same ballpark.
Well, the thing is like exactly to that point. It's like we've only seen the stuff that they thought was appropriate for us to see.
Yeah.
So the rest of it must be like civilization breaking.
Well, and what
do you do about it?
Obviously there's stuff that accidentally gets out, right? That they didn't plan on getting out. But think about how,
like the synagogue tunnels in New York City.
Yeah, bro. Dude, the funniest
wild. We all the real ones knew about those though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Joe.
The funniest thing was people complaining that they were hearing voices coming.
That's
from
like the best. That was like the funniest thing I've ever read.
Joe.
It's like, no, man, you're schizophrenic, man. You need to get help.
There's Jewish people in my walls.
I'm not crazy.
Shabbat shalom, motherfucker.
Joe, tell them about the traffic in New York. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Like what specifically?
Traffic.
Oh, dude, there's like when I lived in New York, it was like the traffic is so bad there. Like, you basically spend like the hour, like however, it took me like 3 hours to go 15 miles twice a day. You know what I mean? That was my commute. And although I was getting paid for it, so it wasn't so bad. But like then you talk to your other buddies who are also in the same traffic, and you start to think like, like there's no way this is like organic. Like this is so insane that like it has to be. Someone has to be doing this to us. Like you can't justify this. Like you get to the point where like the traffic happened and it's just there's no reason. Like there was not an accident. It was just like I don't know, like someone hit their brakes like 20 miles ahead and then it caused like a 4-hour delay because he tapped his brakes. So there's me and like a bunch of people just have like a theory. Like there's people that like they hire to like create traffic to like get people to stop using their cars. And then the other day, and this is just some funny, stupid stuff we used to say. Like I haven't lived in New York in a while, And then the other day, my buddy sends me a video of like this, you know, like those videos on those shorts, like on YouTube or something, with like that creepy music, like that song that people always put like for like some esoteric secret or conspiracy or whatever. It's like do 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 do, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the guy's
Exactly.
like the guy's like he's like explaining this theory about how like he thinks that there's people, like they call it like being on the loop, like they're like NPCs that drive around the map, like creating traffic all day is their job. But that's like, I don't know. I don't think that that's particularly funny or interesting. But the Jewish tunnels was like I mean, like working in like the Jewish areas in New York, especially, they have whole sections of the city, and like, you know, like there's like a whole other infrastructure that like, as in like working construction, you're just like not allowed to touch. You know what I'm saying? Like they have their own building
Really?
inspectors. Yeah, they have their own building inspectors. They have their own like, you know, like police. They have their own EMS. They have their own everything.
Well, there's that whole town that just got kind of exposed where
they're
all in, like
York,
own
right?
assistance.
Yeah, but and that's been there for ages, dude. I mean, like there's a lot of there's like a lot of niche ethnic enclaves in New York. Like there's the one up the hill a while, like Tyler, I think we talked about this a little bit, that one of the Longhouse bros was telling me about in upstate New York, where there's like a Muslim enclave. I forget, it's called like little something or another, and it's like
Chechens that shoot belt feds.
Dude,
like,
they're like, yeah, they're
was talking.
yeah. There's
about
like a belt fed. There's like a like an Islamic militia training camp where they like shoot belt feds, and it's like a story from the 90s. Like it's just been going on. It's just been going on for like 30 years, and it's like it's just like up the road from the Jewish enclave in New York, where there's like a whole other town. And then like you can watch those like Tyler Oliveira videos where he kind of exposes like how people, you know, these ethnic groups
wars. There are probably secret wars going on that like if you're not in the loop, you have no idea they're going on, and they're going on.
Black ops, ethnic black ops going on.
They're all just like tunneling into each other.
It's not even black ops. It's so compartmentalized, because if you're not in those communities, you're just not going to talk about it or hear about it.
Right. Well, all right.
And realistically, you know, before we get back to it, like,
yeah,
you know, when we do like our little like force on force things every now and then with like our Wisconsin buddies, we do it up in the UP of Michigan, because it's kind of the halfway point between everyone. And it's like, realistically, if this was just real, nobody would ever know. Like, obviously, you know, if they stumbled upon the, you know, bodies or whatever, but like if all the survivors just took the bodies out, it's like nobody would have an idea.
Well, that there was a conflict?
Yeah, like we do all the blank fire stuff.
Right, yeah.
And
imagine the historians in the future thinking like of all the places we've had FTXs where there's like thousands of casings of 5.56. Like, must have been a historic battle here at some point.
I mean,
they're finding
they know there were
buckles in the dirt.
Like on one shepherd's property, there's must be like hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition laying on the ground.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Anyway,
so I wanted to kind of cover, not cover. I just wanted to see if maybe you guys wanted to quickly address kind of like the kind of it's a little bit of a coincidence. I actually will listen to this guy talk exactly about what we were talking about. He has a video called "We Are Ruled by Evil People. What Can We Do?" It was put out yesterday. But this episode has been planned obviously longer than yesterday. But he basically just goes in to say, which is something I think we can just kind of hit the high points on really quick, is like, okay, like, yes, we like, you're at a point where like satanic pedophiles are like deeply embedded in our civilization, I think is safe to say. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy for saying that, but that's my understanding.
I think that anyone who disagrees with this at this point is either willingly dumb, or they're like so disillusioned that they're
acknowledging that would probably break their grip on reality.
Like their entire reality is not even on the same plane as the objective reality.
And I get that. So that kind of goes into it. So like, okay, so the thought process is this: you acknowledge this, right? And then you're like, okay, well, in the Old Testament, talks about pagan sacrifices. The human sacrifice is very common, right? The Talmud has a lot of writings in it about, sexual relations with children. Unfortunately, it describes things like that. So this is obviously nothing new what we're seeing. We just know about it now. because of the internet. Obviously, this has been going on for millennia, probably longer than that. So the prescription for that is like he goes on to say, like, what did St. Paul said in Romans, right? Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. So it's like, and the context for that is like Paul, a Roman citizen who was like, a citizen of the nation that crucified Christ and then like killed and martyred and persecuted Christians, under as a pagan nation for like hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? So like objectively, like worse, if not similar to what's going on now. And he was telling you like, hey man, that's just like how it is right now. And then throughout the Bible, you see like God, like his, vengeance is mine, right? Says the Lord. So, I mean, he's like nuked cities, right? For less than what's going on in our society right now. Which is like troubling, right? Because like we're doing, and Tyler, I always say this to you, right? Like whenever I crash out, I'm like, bro, we're like biblically upsetting God in a like the biblical sort of way, right? Mm-hmm. Like our nation is biblically messing up, and our society in general. So like we're kind of due for like a pee-pee slap, like a huge pee-pee slap.
If I may, really fast.
Yeah, no, that's really all I had to. I just wanted to kind of get that out, just to like, then we could kind of move on from it. But like, it's something you have to address, I suppose, is the scriptural perspective.
No, I mean, I guess like just to kind of, for starters, right? There's that whole concept of like start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, right? Like that whole principle. I'm married, I've got kids. Like ultimately, like my responsibility is to my wife and children. My goal is to
we have our own state in life.
Like, yeah, my goal is to help my wife get to heaven. My goal is to give my children and teach my children and prepare them with the tools so that they can live a good, wholesome Christian life to get to heaven. Like Absolutely. That's my ultimate responsibility to those children. They don't have to like me. They don't have to love me, but that is ultimately everything that I do drives towards that. So if I really look at that, does it matter that, I mean, going back to what you're saying with like Paul and said in the Romans, like it is what it is. Like, does it actually affect me, or can I continue to move along those mission lines for those ultimate tasks that I have been tasked with in this life, right? Like does that change anything? Does it mean I might have a bigger fight and have to insulate or protect them more? Yes, but it doesn't mean that like my mission has changed. And so I do find solace in like, again, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is it up to me to change that, or can I be martially prepared so that I can defend my family should the need arise? But like, do I need to change a government? Do I need to prosecute people? If God calls me to do so, then absolutely. Not to get like super religious about it, but like, like if I'm called to do that, then God will call me to do that, and the situation will arise where I do that. But until that moment, like honestly, whether or not the world is ruled by satanic pedophiles or not, like my goals and mission don't change. And I think that's where I find a lot of solace. Like, and I'm fully happy to stand here and say like, it pisses me off to no end, right? Like it pisses me off that like there are evil people walking around. I mean, like it sounds like all of us have been in career fields where like we want to eliminate evil, both in a personal religious perspective and also a professional perspective. Like, but at the end of the day, if it's going to exist, it's going to exist. It existed with the Canaanites. It's existed in Rome. It's existed everywhere throughout all of time and history. I think the best thing that we can pull from a lot of that stuff, though, is like people still lived their best lives. And, if we look at Christianity, like there have been saints that have been generated throughout all periods of time, regardless of who was in charge and what was going on. So like the ability to do good and live your life regardless of who and what's in charge and who and what's going on. Like, I mean, yeah, again, I think that right now it's really hard because we look at all the Epstein stuff, we look at all this other stuff, and like even the conflict in Iran, and it's like, what can you do about it? Like nothing. And they basically will look at you through the camera and say, yeah, there's nothing you can do about this. We're in charge. Like, eat a dick.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to, I don't want to, like, I'm going to say this last part, and then like I said, I don't want to take up too much time about just yapping of myself, but exactly like what you're saying is, I think there's a difference, right? So like, I'm not going to do certain things that would probably endanger my ability to take care of people that I care about or start to get into motion to obtain those things. But I think that there's like that sort of like acknowledging, like openly being like, as a people, right? Like, hey, like we acknowledge that this is who you are and what you do. And we like you're only you know, like kind of how do I put this, like you know, a lot of these people are anyway the thing is like demoralizing people, right? So it's not like we're gonna do nothing as a nation because we can't, but more so like you know what I mean? How do I it's like there's like a mix between like, hey, we're doing this and you can't do anything about it, like what you just said. That's kind of what led me to say this. It's like there's a difference between we're doing this to you, we're doing this to your people, and there's nothing you can do about it, and we're just going to openly do it, and you can put the pieces together. Either no one will believe you or no one cares. And then there's like the everyone acknowledge, kind of like how it is now, where you're like normie people are just like, wow, so like people are raping and eating children like in our government and things like that. But like
the lens that I look at it. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No. I was kind of rambling, but like, I don't know. Maybe you get what I'm trying to say.
So I get what you're saying, but the way I look at it, it's kind of what Mr. Brown said in terms of like, you know, deal with what you can control, deal with what's around you. Like,
yeah, like
not an
according
example
to your
word of that scale,
according to your state,
right? So, like for example, I send my kids to school or my daughter to school, like a little preschool, whatever. And, you know, like no matter what, that's your children's first exposure to the world. And you just got to do the best you can in terms of like either insulating them or explaining things in the proper context, because there's no, when we don't live in an age where you can hide people from stuff, but like that shouldn't be a demoralizing thing. So like you know, like we don't watch like violent movies around my kids or anything like that. But then like the past few months, my daughter's come back from school and being like, "Oh, Daddy, we got to kill that." And I'm like, "Where have you heard anyone in this household say that? Like we don't talk about like killing things around like the kids or anything like that." You know, and it's just kind of like, oh, so they're picking this up from school. So like, I don't want to say like I have bigger fish to fry, but I have more immediate like, oh, okay, so some, you know, some of the stuff around me is just kind of like much more just closer to home, I guess, and I got to deal with that before I can start entertaining any sort of like crazy what's the word, like, you know, before I start getting into delusions of grandeur, I got to kind of do stuff that's right there.
I guess the absurd thing is like, we have our lives and we have to live according to our state in life and take care of those that were charged to their care. But like, I guess, you know, and Tyler, I think we talked about this maybe a couple of weeks ago, probably during a crash out of mine or something. But like, how do you continue to? This is the problem, right? Like, yes, I can go to work and I can live my life and take care of people and things like that. But like, how do I continue to vote? Or like, how do I continue to pay taxes?
Well, I mean, that's that whole thing, like render under God what's God's,
yeah,
sees what's Caesar's.
true.
Like,
yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
Like, again, not to bring it back to biblical, but I mean, like at a certain point,
everything
like,
is
right.
Yeah,
no, that's perfectly. That's like a reasonable way to.
Yeah, I mean, like
conversation.
I don't think you have to vote.
Sorry, I just had a standoff with not a standoff, but like some dude I'm on my porch right now recording, and some dude like walks his dog, and like I guess when the dog hears anyone like talk, it like locks in on it, and like the dog was just staring at me, and it's like this like big, you know, like
He knows what you did 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah,
No.
pissed on your hands.
well, this dog is
He knows about the body.
This dog has rushed at me before, like it got loose of the guy's
Okay.
leash or whatever, and like it ran right up to me, like maybe like a yard away in my yard. So like every time it walks by, you know, even if it's with the owner, like not, you know, not disparaging the owner or anything, but like it's just a strong dog. So like it can just get loose.
So you prepare yourself to kill this thing every time he passes by?
Yeah, I just kind of like stared it down. Just like, if this thing runs up
Nice.
to me, I'm going to have to throw my laptop at it.
He's got his Vaseline glove on and ready to go.
Yeah, you got to take out the Vaseline glove and try to grab the dog with it.
So I guess that's kind of why he was writing about that, right? Like, I guess people were like, how do I, like, how, they're killing us. Like they're literally peeling our skin off and feeding us to lions. Like, how do I pay taxes and continue to like live my life? And then I guess that's why he's like, says the things he says. I guess they were probably in a worse situation than we were.
Well, I think it's all perspective, though. I mean, it's all relative, right? Like they dealt with stuff that we can't understand or comprehend, and we're dealing with shit that like would blow their minds. So I think it's all
like a
it's all a
flock
matter.
camera. You try to
like,
explain a flock camera to people.
They're doing what in a pizzeria?
Yeah,
What happened in the pizzeria?
Insane. I don't even know what a pizzeria is, but they're doing some crazy shit in there.
You have to
You know what I
explain the
mean?
backstory of what pizza is, so you can explain what they were doing in the pizzeria.
Oh, see,
Yeah, you have to explain something completely unrelated.
They would have to read so many emails, and they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is an email?"
Yeah, so your people are going
And
to
they can't even
invent
read.
a dish. It's a thing of dough you throw in the oven, and then you put tomato sauce on it, and you put sausage and cheese on it.
Well, the Romans had like baked bread with cheese in it.
I mean, isn't that kind of Italian?
They had
Roman?
pizzerias.
Yeah,
No, they had they had pizzas
God,
before
we're so
tomatoes.
geographically fucked.
Do you
right
think
now.
Jesus could have eaten a pizza?
I don't know. I mean,
Was
he
it
probably
a
ate bread
pineapple guy?
probably ate bread with cheese on it.
You
I don't
probably
think
ate
they had
like
tomato
crazy
sauce.
salad.
Theoretically, Jesus could have eaten a pizza.
I don't know. Weren't they not
Yeah.
eating tomatoes? Like, didn't they not have
Yeah,
tomatoes?
tomatoes weren't a thing until late medieval, right? Because I think they thought they were poison.
Is this like the saying
it's
where
an
like the last like a samurai theoretically could have sent Abraham Lincoln a fax or something like that?
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's
I don't think
wild.
it's son of a
A
fax.
telegram.
He
But
faxes
anyway,
from these, dude.
anyway,
But yeah, like outside of so I don't know. Do you guys feel like we've covered kind of like the biblical or like
Yeah,
theological perspective?
Like kind of just coming back to it, like, you know, like render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. I mean, that kind of encompasses how I look at it. Is like, dude, I have so much other shit on my plate that like going on like some grand crusade, and it sounds bad because of course like it's not what anyone wants to hear, but it's like, dude, I got people depending on me. I can't just go off on some fucking
Who hasn't fantasized about the Epstein Island OTB or the Jekyll Island OTB?
I got my
when we get time travel
ready to go.
Yeah, you got your. That's right.
No, I think that a good way to put it though is that like you know the immediate here and now is, you know, as I'm recording this, like my wife and my kids are all at home, right? We just had another baby a couple weeks ago.
Congrats,
we
by the
are-
way.
Lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, we Mr. Brown, I got to tell you that that his name is the precursor to your name.
Interesting.
A little puzzle action.
Yeah, a little scavenger hunt for you.
Yeah, I won't dox him. Don't worry.
I'm sure you immediately picked it up. But anyway,
His name's Mister.
yeah. Exactly.
It's Tan, Mr. Tan.
It's just
Yeah.
his name is just Black.
M10.
That's John to you.
But the immediate reality, the immediate here and now is that these people are all at home right now, right? And I'm at home. And that's the immediate priority. Everything that I do has to be for them, right? Like I go to work every day, you know, Monday through Friday to be able to support them, keep them comfortable, keep them, you know, sheltered and fed and all that stuff. You know, everything is done ultimately for them, right?
Mhm.
And so, you know, when we start talking about and we start expanding on the idea of the corruption within government at very high levels and stuff. We can look back at history and we can see that this is nothing new. Like, it's different today than it was before, right? Like, people weren't sending emails and like torture videos to guys that live on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world,
but they were torturing people,
right.
They
were doing it in the town
just right in front of you. Yeah.
But it's throughout history, like in once you really start, because we were talking about this I think yesterday when I was driving home from work, like you have the idea of the corruption and like a quote unquote like deep state controlling things is definitely not a new development, because even the American Revolution, disclaimer, I would never want to be British, but continuing, the American Revolution is really, I mean, the entire thing was pushed by Freemasons and was done as a way to do a test trial run for the French Revolution that ended up that the biggest thing with the French Revolution that it did, the effects that it had, were that it was really the end of the monarchies. And so when you have like a monarchy, the chances of corruption is a lot lower, right? Like, any one ruler system in general has a lower ability, I would say, for corruption than like a very, like what we have, right? Where there's so many people, because, and not saying that this is what anyone should do, but, if you say like, okay, who would you need to remove from the government to end the corruption, right? There's no like 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 or even 100 names that you can come to. It's
thousands.
It's so deeply embedded that it would just continue to occur because of the nature of things and the complexity of things, and how easy it is within the mass of all of these people for somebody to come in there and do that, especially once you have, foreign lobbying groups and things like that. But if you have a single ruler system, right, the all it takes is one person to get, enough of an angry mob to storm where they live, and now it's like, all right, well, we're starting over, and it's probably not that easy. It's pretty similar.
No, and think about, that's actually a great point, because think about how many less people can be blackmailed that way.
Oh yeah,
because now you don't have a collection of like the entire world's governments and economic elites being blackmailed through some type of really disturbing system, but like you just have like a couple of monarchs basically to deal with, which is why, which is probably exactly why that the goal was to collapse all of the monarchies of Europe in the first place, was because it's like hard to control guys who had like a deal just amongst each other, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, not only that, but and not saying that monarchs weren't able to be corrupted. There were,
of course,
there were more that were not, and that were very loyal to who they were there for. Because the other thing too is that, like, when you have a lot of the monarchs in history, like, there's no mistake in, like, there were definitely a handful where it's like, oh, like, by blood they were this other nationality that was different, and then they were, through the way that the lineages worked and all that stuff, like, they were the heir to the throne of this other country that they didn't really have like a whole lot of blood relation on, and whatnot. Like, that did happen, but a lot of these monarchs that were, that we know about, they took it like very seriously, and they took it to heart, and they knew that it was a very important thing to do, because they were generally a lot more concerned with the well-being of their people and their job versus.
Well, it's that line from John, right? Like, it's like God has put the people in power who are in power. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they probably felt like if they were given power, they had a duty to God to like treat their people justly. It was, technically, so, I'm sure at some point someone must have felt that way.
So my question is do you think that applies to monarchies and more traditional style, like tribal systems, versus, because I mean, ultimately you could say like a monarchy is a giant tribe, right? Like, versus, have we taken that control away from God by us electing individuals? And
We can't take anything from God, right?
But I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying though. Like there's too much free will involved. Like there's too many people involved in this decision.
I would
now.
say that with monarchies, that is what a Christian nation is called to be. Because,
of course,
like
a family.
It's bridging between monarchism and a theocracy. Like,
well, even you look at like the idea of the kingdom of heaven. It's not the republic of heaven, or you know what I mean? Like it's not the democracy of heaven.
Well, like the family unit is supposed to be a model of like how God kind of rules over His people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like. In the same way, like a nation should then therefore be run the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like a patriarch, like a just patriarch.
It's actually a really funny comparison that you just drew up is like the traditional nuclear family is a monarchy, whereas like the poly couples and stuff like that are like the democracy of like
it's true
families.
It's true.
They're all just off the rails.
Bro, ascended opinion, the nuclear family cringe actually. In my opinion,
it was in the nuclear family. I don't know what the definition of that is. Isn't that just like mother?
That's just like mom, dad, kids.
Yeah,
because I grew up like mom, dad, kids, grandma, grandpa, and uncle, and it was phenomenal.
See, I think that's it. I mean, we're gonna get down a whole other rabbit hole in terms.
But
of
I didn't mean
the
we
loss.
Don't have to. Yeah.
The loss of like the familial structure and.
Well, that is huge, right?
Like and society and the role and implications that your community and the extended familial structure play on said community and what that does for an overall society.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost that like completely.
Which is like why you're today. Like a lot of leaders don't even have like families at all. You know what I mean?
And even like
extremely disturbing.
The average of the society is that you have a lot of people that are not doing things the way that they should, right? And not saying that like I did it perfect or that I still continue to do it perfectly, but think about how common it is for people to live with their significant other like without being married, right? Think about how common it is for there to be even divorces, right? Think about how common it is for like a co-parenting situation or all that stuff, and
it's completely normalized.
Well, yeah, it's completely normalized.
I can tell you why. I mean, if we want to go back to like medieval stuff again, because we were talking about the monarchies, people back during that time, they realized that the time they have here is very short in comparison to the eternity that they're working towards. So they were more focused on eternity and what was going to prevent them or get them there, right? We've lost that. And when you no longer think about eternity and you constantly live in the moment and you constantly live day to day, you lose a lot of the gravitas and just the weight of your actions. And so when your actions no longer carry the same amount of weight because you're not looking at them in terms, I mean, we all know that it goes towards eternity, but if you refuse to see that or believe that or trust in that, and you just make decisions based off of the here and now and what you want, well, then you make decisions completely different than if you're making every single decision like, what is eternity going to look like for me? And I think we're seeing a really, really accurate reflection of that just in modern society.
Have you heard this this thing where that's why this is kind of it's good. Have you seen this thing where like the elites are kind of like obsessed with like immortality because like they all know they're going to hell? Like they know that like
I've heard that
it's an interesting point.
Like they know hell is real because like they're literally working with demonic forces, but like they're just gonna like live it up as much as possible. Like they think they're like irredeemable, so that they're just like, okay, we're just gonna do it as big as possible for as long as possible. Yeah, it's like you can't get.
Yeah, that's
like
why
it's
they
like
take
the tricking God. Like, you know, and actually another a buddy of mine kind of
That's a really interesting concept. Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't wrap my head around the thought about like I don't know how crazy you guys want to get, but I'll be the nut job of like saying about you know, like eating people, but like I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, how could you, like, how is that possible? Like,
Yeah,
how
do you
could
do
you
it whole, or is
possibly
it,
do
like,
that?
fillets or what?
No, I mean, just like I don't understand like how you get to the point where that would be a thing. And then like obviously it happened throughout history. And my buddy, who's a bit like more esoteric, much more so than I am, he's basically like, it actually makes perfect sense because these people believe, you know, like the whole like transmutation thing. Like, I am going to eat this and become it. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing about like eating the heart of an animal, say, or like you know, some pagan warrior eats the heart of his enemy.
That's for the OG like pineal gland like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like conspiracy.
Oh man, we're getting wild now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I didn't. I guess I was going to be the one to go.
I'm so down. Let's do it.
So to like, well, that's what I'm saying. So if your goal is to like live forever, to you know, like inhibit your final judgment, basically, I mean, you're gonna want to be like transmuting the energy from the youth. You know what I mean?
Well, I heard a separate conspiracy related to that too, and it brings in the children. So I've heard that they take blood transfusions from children because there's like stem cells, which would mean you would need children, willing or unwilling, to provide them. So that's why you traffic them.
Sure.
But then I think part of it too is they treat the kids like a sacrifice, like a biblical sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Where you put all your sin. You know, you do the ritual or whatever, and you're putting all your sin into this vessel.
Gio, it's deeper than this. Gio, it's deeper than this. It's there's a level which Tyler, you may, if you know more than I do about this, chime in. So there's like a way to dig to heaven through the bottom is a way that they certain people believe.
Wait, sorry, what?
So to go up, to go down. You go down to go up. So to commit such sin that it would be so heinous that God himself would have to intervene and therefore give you the opportunity to redeem yourself, and then you can go to heaven.
I've never heard of this.
I've had a lot of free time on my hands.
No.
Like
that's. I mean,
so it's like
that's wild.
Unemployed friend on a random.
Yeah. So the theory is to go so deep down that you like. That you like come out the other side. You like force God's hand to like intervene.
Is that like a Satanist thing?
I don't know if I want to say this publicly right now, but if you do enough research, you could find a simple answer that is very obvious.
So what you're saying is that
they are
people that do like such heinous things are saying like
that's the point, to do the worst possible thing.
Well, and so it's
I mean, if you're trying to go through the bottom to get to heaven, which is totally fucked,
right?
But then also simultaneously, like they're talking about immortality. Is that to be able to like? How do those reconcile?
I'm sure there's different esoteric Satanist beliefs of like different sects of these nut jobs that are like.
I have a feeling something like that would be like, well, you need to find it. So on a long enough timeline. You know, you need the time to be able to enable finding that.
I mean, it could just be like different schools of thought within the same general. I mean, like, you know, if the four of us talk about stuff long enough, we're all going to get to a point where we have the same general schools of thought on most things, but we're all going to come to disagreements on something, right?
Yeah.
Where all four of us have different thoughts on a topic.
Sure. Right.
You know, it's in you know, this is like the thing is that, you know, when we look at the concept of what a lot of this is going on in you know, the child sacrifice and whatnot, and even like the, you know, the commonality of like abortion in our time and stuff like that is a million
very true.
A like, you know, and this sounds crazy to people that are not like privy to this stuff, or that are not even if you're like you know, religious or you entertain the idea of the supernatural and whatnot. a lot of the stuff can still sound crazy unless you're like full deep into it. But you have the concepts of like child sacrifice and Baal and all that stuff, right? Or I'm sorry, Moloch was the.
No, they're talking about how these are all kind of the same. Not the. They're kind of like the Baal Moloch like thing. Like it doesn't have to be as a separate entities. They think that's just one entity.
Right, but the point is that a lot of this stuff is to appease, ways to get more power, and it's very easy to go on like YouTube, for example, and watch these videos where even very normal people, like there's that comedian Shane Smith who. He was on like Pints with Aquinas recently, and I was listening to it. And he's had stuff where he's talked about how back, like in his past, he just found himself. He started going on like a political thing where he was kind of more, in like the left side school of thought or whatever.
Yeah, he was in the SRA.
Yeah. He was in the SRA.
He was like really like left.
Yeah, he was, and I don't like pinning it in like left versus right because it obviously goes deep.
Yeah, that's true. Of course. You're right.
But
very true.
He joined like the like a local like satanic temple thing because he thought like, oh, these guys are just they're doing it to be funny. It's like an ironic thing, and they're just like people that share my worldview and listen to metal like me.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he's like, no, like these people are actually doing satanic rituals, and then he started doing it, and he started getting into the occult and everything, and he was saying like 100% without a doubt, like a lot of these occultist things work, right? Like there's no like
that's the problem, right? That's when he realized he's like, oh, it is real because it works.
And so there's a lot of things that you can listen to online where people will talk about their experiences and how they were started to dabble in the occult for something, and it gave them this feeling of power, and they continued down that road. And so now imagine that, times, however many, where you're the leader, you're one of the leaders of a nation, right? You're in charge of, some small fraction of America, and, the most powerful country that has ever existed, in the history of man, or whatever you want to say. And these people are always looking for ways to generate more power and whatnot. And like even the cartel, there's a lot of stuff where when you start digging into like horrifying. The cartel, there's a lot of satanic rituals.
I'm losing sleep over the things I'm learning about the cartel, like unironically losing sleep.
Yes, like human sacrifice. Like these beheading videos are like human sacrifices to gain more,
And it makes perfect sense because you're like, what would drive a person to do? Like, it can't just be business. Like, and it's like the classic, like, hey kid, it's just business, and you kill somebody. It's like, no, they're gonna like peel this guy's face off, publicly, and it's just like, this has to be. You can't just do this for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. And this stuff is like way too extreme.
I don't want to think about it actually.
What's that?
I don't even want to think about it because the cartel stuff is so much more accessible because it's like
y'all talking about all this spooky stuff, and then a palm frond just fell from one of the trees in my yard and just made a bunch of noise.
Oh,
that's spooky.
But the governmental like elites, like that stuff's not accessible to me. Like I'm just not in those. I don't run in those circles, but I just feel like the cartel stuff is a bit more accessible because like that could be happening in like a building in like a major city. You know what I'm saying? Like in anywhere, at this point now in the US, like pretty much. And I guess to be fair, like the governmental elite, like not governments and like political elite or like corporate elite or whatever. I don't know. The people who are doing the Epstein class, as people call it now. I guess that happens in like the US too, but I don't know. I feel like because like the cartel is dealing with drugs, like consumer goods, basically, it's somehow more accessible. Like I still feel like I could get snatched up if I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's
like you see the wrong thing, and it's just like, oops.
This stuff is obviously like prevalent enough to where you tell somebody this stuff and they're just like, "Oh yeah, okay," and it's just such a
I got you guys.
Such a common thing to where people are like, yeah, that's the reality of things, and they just move on. Like it's not like a shocking thing to bring up to people. And so, and obviously you'll get the like, oh, that's all just made up stuff. But for the average person that has seen the emails and knows that it's not all made up stuff and all that, like you say something like, oh yeah, that's crazy. What are we getting for lunch? You know what I mean? Like it's so just it's like, I don't want to say it's been played out at this point, but I don't know. I guess it's just like an unreachable thing. Like it's like, what do you do? But then in history and throughout all of history, this has been a common theme where you've had groups like that happening. Like the people that orchestrated the American Revolution were honestly like probably pretty corrupt. You look at the circles and the people that they talked to,
more than likely, yeah,
links to other countries and all that
I
stuff.
think worse than corrupt, it was probably like compromised almost.
Oh yeah, and
morally compromised.
The history of Freemasonry too is very.
It's kind of cringe to say Illuminati now, but like,
well, yeah,
but that is what it was. You know.
Well,
what I mean?
and you had sent me that video. Talking about yesterday was the feast day of St. Joseph the Worker,
right?
And it was talking about. I didn't end up finishing it because
I
had other stuff going on. But if you want to kind of explain.
So
to this.
So like May 1st, the pagans had like May 1st as a celebration, where they would take off work to like do super sin. You know what I mean? Like sin extra. So like, like crazy stuff, you know what I mean? Like big party, sexual sin, go nuts. And then the commies took it and they kind of were like, oh, like
this is a worker's day.
Now it's a worker's day. But like it always was kind of like a day off sort of scenario. And then this in 1776, May 1st of 1776, this guy was a Catholic, he like, I guess, renounced the Catholic faith. He was like some theologian or something like that. And in May 1st, 1776, and he like created, like I said, it's kind of cringe to say this now, but like created the Illuminati, I suppose. And I'm basing this off of a sermon. But that's how the story goes. And so he was to created the Illuminati supposedly on May 1st, kind of in honor of the pagan like May Day, basically May 1st, because it was supposed to be basically the goals were to like like the common goals of like the evil dudes that we're worried about now, like destroy the family, make people work forever, debt, things like that. And then the commies came about, and like the Bolsheviks and who those guys were, so they were really into the whole Workers' Day. And then so what the Catholic Church did, and like I don't know too much about this part because I just was going too deep on the other stuff, which I want to address actually. They made it like I think the Italians were like, we should do this maybe. I think the Italians just made Saint Joseph like the patron saint of Italy because like we're cool like that. We can just do that. So I think they like made May 1st like the day of like Saint Joseph the Worker, right? Because that's like what Saint Joseph is known for like just being like a diligent worker and like taking care of his family and doing the right thing like according to his station. That's his whole thing, and it's very admirable. It's like as a man, like we should all strive to be like that, and so they made it as like the day of like they tried to take it back basically, kind of like how. Like the month of is it June, the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and they turned it into Pride Month or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of like the high points. You guys can look into that, like pick up the trail where I left it. But I just did want to say, and Mr. Brown, I'd like to hear. I think that you kind of were getting into this before, and then we kind of went off in a little bit of a different way. But I wanted to mention this. So in this guy who kind of fleshed out this topic before us, he was talking about like your temperament and people who are prone to anxiety or like if you want to talk about like theological virtues like gluttonous or like addictive behaviors, what would be. But like, so it's kind of like you have to watch your So first it goes like this, right? First he makes the point that it's like it's best for men to inform themselves on the reality of the world and to distill the pertinent information to those under him, basically, so as not to overburden them with stress. Even still, each person must determine for themselves how much they can handle before they start to feel the weight of the darkness affecting them. So it's like the things we were talking about, this conversation got very dark very quickly, right? So that's a problem that's been affecting me, is like, how much of this am I exposing myself to in ratio to how much am I, like, how much of like good stuff am I exposing myself to? And basically the point this guy is making is that, like, you know, all of these like gory details or like this horrifying stuff that we're reading and learning on a daily basis, especially with the Epstein stuff, it's like, how much of that are we consuming compared to like spiritual nourishment, right? And Tyler, we talked about this recently because that's been like a problem I've been having.
So there's a couple concepts there. One, and I'm blanking on the psychological concept, but it's basically that you can only, as a person, you can really only truly care about like 150 people. Like,
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like truly actually care, like want to help, assist, provide, like emotionally, physically, everything. And then on top of that, I do think that we live in a world where like we are just so inundated with information. I think that as human beings, we were never meant to know what was going on the opposite side of the world. Like, yeah. I just don't think we have the emotional or mental bandwidth to, and I don't want to like undersell humanity, but more of like, how can I process it appropriately? Like, I think we're just so inundated with information and information streams on such a regular basis at this point that like it is like, oh, Epstein list, that's crazy. Yeah, where are we going for lunch, right? Like, you just become so just inoculated to it, and as a result, you don't care anymore. It's the same thing with like dudes watching like I call it war porn, or like murder porn. Like, it's like watching those drone videos in Ukraine, right? Like, you're just watching.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. We talk about this a lot, actually.
But like, I think we're
desensitizing you. It's like, yeah. It's like porn. It is like porn. We've actually made that exact point, where people are watching this, like the war porn.
Yeah, you get
quote
dudes
unquote.
Get off on it, emotionally. But I think that we're just so flooded with information at this point that you've become inoculated. You become immune to it. It doesn't matter anymore.
Sure.
And I think one of the best ways to do it is to like dial it back. You know, like you were saying, like. You're looking at all this Epstein stuff. You're looking at all this war porn, or not saying you necessarily, but
yeah.
What are you doing to balance that out spiritually? What are you doing that like you're just even bettering yourself? Like, read a book, you know, like create something, develop something, foster something, build. You know, like we live in such a consumer society, and this is something I talk to my kids all the time about. Like, don't just consume. Like, create. You have to create. Like. You have to create in order to consume, but we live where everybody just wants to consume constantly. And I'm guilty of that a lot of times too, you know, because it's easy, it's comfortable. Creating's hard, building is hard. We've got to, you know.
Yeah, see about the shocks I just replaced.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, but like you grew as a person doing that. We've got a 70-acre homestead that I'm developing. Right, like, it sucks to do sometimes, but like, I am creating something that I'm going to get out of it. I'm not just consuming. I'm not consuming information. I'm not consuming this, that, and the other.
You're putting out. You're not consuming. You're producing.
It's a balance, and I think we've lost that balance. And I think when you lose that balance, you really open yourself up to a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, right? Like, you know, whether it be demonic or just crazy politicians or anything else like that. Like, you open yourself up to all this just worry and anxiety and everything, instead of just turning it over and saying, look, again, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's, and I'm just going to focus on my mission, which is my family. And, you know, I'm going to be martially prepared. I'm going to train. I'm going to build a community. I'm going to organize. I'm going to do all these things. So if anything ever does happen, I have people to rely on, and I have skills to rely on. But at the end of the day, rather than being an aggressor with those skills, I'm just going to be more of a reactionary thing because I have a primary mission and focus that is my family. And again, like I said before, it's ultimately to get them to heaven.
Yeah, and I guess like that's kind of the, like I guess like the elites per se would feel comfortable in the fact that people like us would say things like that, and they think it gives them agency per se, maybe to continue the lifestyle that they live. But I guess technically, like the Lord, like we just said earlier, like the Lord says, like vengeance is mine. So I guess like I would hate to be those guys.
Well, yeah, and we're talking about eternity here.
Yeah,
like they're
true.
They're finding agency in the moment and in the in the immediate. Okay, sounds good. They can love me all they want for saying I'm not going to be militant, right? I have the skills and the willingness and capability to be militant should the need arise, but I'm not looking for it. I've seen enough war. Like,
sure.
I don't need to bring it here to my family. I've got other missions that are far more important. And they can like that all they want. But
it's in a similar thing. Like, a buddy of mine had sent me some stuff about, like, I don't know, some sort of scandal or corruption on individuals within the church, right? And obviously talking about the Catholic Church, and I was like, look, like at the end of the day, like my trust is with God, right? And based on everything that I believe that God started the church and that this is his church. So I am going to be a part of it. I know that he has a plan for all of this stuff that occurs. And I know that anybody that is doing, bad things or whatever, even if it's just like a, small level thing or, stole some money from the donation basket to, very, very bad things that have occurred based on individuals that were doing wrong things, right? At the end of the day, like, I trust in God that what he says is true, and I'm going to follow that. And my biggest focus is making sure that my kids grow up in the right way, and that my family is there, and that we go to mass on Sunday, and we make sure that we do things the way that has been told to do things, right? Stay in a state of try not to be in a state of mortal sin, and if you are, like, do the right, confess and all that stuff, and you go through all that stuff and try to stay spiritually stable, and try to stay spiritually knowledgeable, and everything else is just kind of an accessory to that, because like it has been brought up a couple times, is that all this stuff is temporary. And
hey, I got to cut you off really fast. My phone is about to die, and I've got mass at 7:30. I'm going to cut out, guys.
Okay.
All right, man. It was good talking to you.
All right,
yeah.
well,
sorry for the audio.
Maybe perhaps part two.
Yes, indeed.
Part 2 with less piss.
More piss.
Actually, we have to still do an hour of piss talk.
Double
All
right. See you, buddy.
All right, see
you later.
Yeah, I also have mass in the morning, but anyway.
Yep. So what do you want to do?
There's we're talking about things that are temporary, right? Like letting work get in the way of anything else that could be like spiritually enriching, stuff like that. You're letting the temporary stuff take priority over the eternal stuff, and that even goes to like falling into sin for whatever, right? You see something online that you probably shouldn't, you linger on it too long, or little things like that, right? It's like, okay, well, this, I'm letting a temporary thing get in the way of me seeing how the eternity is going to go, and I think that's what it is. And some people may say that it's kind of like a cop out or a cope or whatever, but I do think that it's like, okay, like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna strap up and go to some place and start like opening up on government officials because they're in the Epstein emails? It's like, how far is that going to get you? How far is that going to get anything? What good is that going to do? It's not. Realistically, it's not going to do any good. And the thing with a lot of this stuff is that when you start to realize how deep a lot of this really goes, it's insane. Like you look at a lot of famous people, right? Like a good example of this is like Erica Kirk, right? She literally went to a school that was like a bunch of famous people go to the school, or a bunch of people in these like higher up government positions and are associated with government stuff and whatever, went to the school. Her dad is like a very powerful guy. She was involved with all this weird stuff. And then you look at a lot of these people that are in positions of power, and they all went to like a similar thing where they had this upbringing and whatnot. And even like JD Vance, for example, right? Like he was like basically taken by, he was average middle class guy, joined the Marines as a journalist, and then he got taken up by what's that guy's name, like Peter Thiel or whatever. What's the dude's name?
Yeah, became a Manchurian candidate through MK Ultra, and now he's going to be the president of the United States.
Yeah, there's like all this little stuff that's like,
bro, letting me say anything.
What?
I said, bro is letting me say anything.
I don't care. But the whole thing with it is that these people, it's the concept of like an Abraham Lincoln type, where he was born in a log cabin and was a nobody and was able to become the president, is not real. It never was real. All these people have a point where they were made to be in that position.
Of course,
I've not heard this point really before. Actually,
they were groomed to be where they are.
What's that?
They were groomed to be where they are.
Yeah, a million %. And so, to say like, oh, let's do. I'm not saying this, but
the Longhouse and its affiliates disavow any violence in any capacity.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, you look at the idea of people that are saying like, oh, I can't take it anymore. I've seen the Epstein emails, and I'm not downplaying that. Obviously,
right.
Like that's horrendous stuff that I can't even fathom.
I think there was a video of a dude like on a train or in a plane or somewhere, and he was like, he's like, "How could you people go about your lives? These Epstein emails like that." He was like tweaking out in public, like he broke him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's shocking.
Some people can't handle the nuke of information.
The truth nuke.
Yeah.
So then what is the state? What is the? I mean, like, granted, like I've received obviously advice on this for myself, my own spiritual life, but like, what would you say to like, so we got the wife guys in here, you know what I'm saying? But what do you say to the, like the state and what would you say about the state and life of the single man listening to this? You know what I mean? And with this information,
I would say that, obviously everything in life is going to come back to that like eternity, right? Everything that we're doing now is there to strengthen our place in eternity.
What we do in this life echoes in eternity, dude. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's exactly what we're saying.
Whoa.
But for the single guy, I would say, secure yourself. Do what you can to secure yourself like a stable future, right? So if that means that you're in college for something that is going to have a good job growth and is going to have good job perspectives and whatnot, and you're not like, just going crazy and you're going to be on Caleb Hammer in a couple of years, like continue to do that, right? If you don't know what you're doing, I think that, and this is obviously a different topic, but I think that there is something to where we are, we're inclined towards certain things and certain jobs and hobbies and whatnot based on gifts that we have on our, like that are, gifts from God, essentially, like without trying to overcomplicate the verbiage. But there's certain things that we're going to enjoy doing and that we're going to be really good at too. And so, try to figure out what that is. And there's no shortage of jobs that people can do that'll pay something. Like, don't focus on moving out. Don't focus on trying to be completely independent or whatever. And don't focus too hard on like finding somebody to marry, because it's going to happen when it happens. Focus on yourself and focus on staying healthy mentally and obviously spiritually and physically, and just continue to do that and try to set yourself up for the future, for your future family. And then when you're ready, and you may not seem like you're ready when you are really ready, but when you're ready, all this stuff is going to start falling in line. And I think that the other thing too is the importance on thinking of like, am I doing what's best for me from the perspective of myself, of what I think is the best, or am I doing the best on what is really best for me based on the perspective of God per se? And it can be difficult to discern that, obviously, but guys that buy into overspending and like frivolous crap, it's like, is this really enriching to me for like me getting set up for an eternal life, right? Like what does the eternal life look like? I don't know, but it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is it important now for that? And with the concept of training and everything, I think that all of that is because the average person does have a duty to fight evil. And it's one of those things where, people buy like a gun for concealed carry and they're like, I'm probably never going to have to use this. And even if it's just a matter of all the legal stuff that you have to go through, you're like, I hope I never have to use this, or morally, whatever it is. But you still carry it, right? Like it's still a thing that you have. And I think that that's really where the training space comes in. And I think that that's where the focus on a lot of the, quote unquote, like non-kinetic stuff comes into play too, where you think about like, what's more likely, the baby eating, demon worshiping cartel members steamrolling through your town, or there being like an instance where a gas line breaks and it contaminates water, or however it works out, right? Like the water supply gets contaminated because something broke or whatever. Like infrastructure stuff is causing you to have to do something to have clean drinking water and be able to cook food and all that stuff, right? So it's like, or worst case, like, it is always a chance that something bad could happen. Like we could wake up tomorrow and major cities are being bombed by America's adversaries or whatever country you're in, their adversaries. Like I don't think that there's going to be an invasion of mainland America at any point in anybody's lives, but there's so many
North Korean paratroopers.
Yeah, well, even like the infrastructure terrorism kind of thing, right?
I think that's probably the most likely if there was to be.
And like
if not already, it's probably already happening in some capacity, and it's probably some sort of, like Gio said, some hidden war that's going on that we don't see under the surface. Probably.
You're talking about the one in Area 51 that happened underground and everything.
God, can we talk about that one day?
Yeah,
dude. Was that Dulce something or another? Dulce something.
I don't know what.
I think it was Dulce, New Mexico. That's where that was. Dulce Ranch. Or
anyway,
yeah.
I kind of started to ramble because.
You're not really.
I've been drinking beers like.
You're not really rambling. I know. This is what you get when I never drink on the podcast, but the one night I do, this is what you get. So,
Nice.
yeah, I guess that's like, I don't know. I guess that kind of puts it. Maybe suppose we'll have to do Mr. Brown part 2, but I don't know. I don't want to say anything else. I personally don't want to say anything else more than what I've already said. I think I've said enough, to be honest. But yeah, I guess like you're like I don't know. This the previous part might have gotten edited out, but like it's kind of something that I've been dealing with is like the proportion of like how much bad stuff you're taking in versus how much like you're focusing on your relationship with like Christ. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's so easy to just take in consumption. Like Tyler, kind of what you were talking about is like how much are you consuming, right? Versus how much are you guess producing or giving. It's like, are you consuming, buying things, goods, eating too much? Same thing, consuming news or other bullshit. I guess it does kind of come down to consumption.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I don't want the perspective of us to be portrayed as like, don't do anything ever because
right,
God will do it, right? Which
it's
kind of a fine line to walk, right? Like, for example,
it's crazy. We're following this. We're like following this script of what this guy said so closely. He's talking about how that one day they'll ask for your rifles, buy 2, give them 1, and the other one will save 100 souls. Is apparently what some saint said. This would be an Orthodox saint, obviously, but that's what he said. So yeah, I guess at some point there is, I guess in the defense of life, you have a responsibility to protect those under your care. You know what I'm saying? So
well, and that's something that I was talking about.
And that's huge.
That's something I was talking about with a friend of mine the other day, because he's kind of going through like a spiritual journey right now and whatnot. But we were talking about the idea of like concealed carrying and stuff, because he got into guns and concealed carry and whatnot, and he's not like a serious gun guy, but he's like he has a couple of guns and he has a concealed carry permit and whatnot. But he said, like, is defending yourself with guns defending the faith more than dying for it, essentially. And he said, I think trusting your life is in God's hands and committing no retaliating violence is the act of bigger faith. And I said, like, it kind of depends on what you do in life. If your life can bring more to Christ and you will defend yourself against somebody who is bringing people away from Christ or not living a Christian lifestyle and is justifiable in self-defense, then it's a righteous thing to do. And, I was kind of saying that, like, there's no point where we're told not to fight about things, and that there's an entire doctrine of just war from both St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. And, I was saying, like, if you were held at knife point by, a drug addict or somebody who's, spreading drug addiction and disease and preying upon others, or you saw someone approaching your kids with intent to harm them, it would be the evil thing to do absolutely nothing about it. And, I'm not saying that you should just like go around shooting drug addicts, obviously, but there are plenty that are a harm to nobody, and there are plenty that are harm to nobody but themselves. So it's like, are they worth defending against? It's like, who knows? But within the just war theory, like I got classes when I went to JTAC school on the concept of proportionality, which is like, don't use a force above what's necessary to stay moral and to diminish collateral damage and things like that. And, for example, like if I'm doing things and I have like a lone guy and some tree cover shooting at us or, other guys, I'm not going to put like 1,000-pound bomb on them. Like if I have access to smaller munitions and guns from an aircraft or whatever. But similarly enough, like if you have the ability to restrain somebody and wait for law enforcement, for example, but you instead put a round through their head, like it's probably not justifiable. So I do think that, there is obviously like the just war theory, and there's different things about this to say, like it is justifiable to fight, and it generally is in defense. Like to enact these engagements is not justifiable, but
I mean, I suppose if God thought it, I suppose if it was God's will, people would be justifiably moved to act in some way. I'm sure that's happened many times throughout history.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure
that's kind of where the faith in God comes from. I suppose if you just kind of like have faith that justice will be done, then perhaps you might see that in your lifetime, and then you should be prepared, right? I mean,
yeah.
That kind of is a good way to put it, I suppose.
I think that we should be prepared for the instance where we would be, theoretically
called upon.
Yeah, quote unquote called upon to do something. And I think that it's obviously a difficult conversation or nuanced thing to say, like, what does that look like? Because even saying something like that, it kind of gives images in my head of like some guy waking up in the dead of night and being like, Barack Obama, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to say, obviously, without knowing, because all we can ever do is speculate on what we think may end up happening in the future and going off of that. So, like, okay, cartels taking over towns. Is it justifiable to try to, fight against them? Like, yeah, I would say that it is, because they're not a force for good, right? It's pretty obvious that the cartels are not a force for good in any regard. If there's economic collapse or structural infrastructural collapse and stuff going on, and then you have all of these little subgroups and people are trying to loot you and whatnot, and you end up defending yourself against them, like, yes, that's obviously justifiable. But is it justifiable to say that, like, because the government has people that are doing unspeakable acts against kids and doing stuff that's like horrific in nature to them, is it justifiable to start going and trying to enact violence against them? And it's like, that's a difficult topic, because obviously it is evil, right?
Yeah,
and we are called to stop evil.
True.
So what's the right answer for something that when you're trying to tell somebody, like, well, no, I'm not going to go do that. You know what I mean?
Well, luckily we have the church, I suppose, right, to help us discern these things. In the past, that was more common in times of, like, I guess there was more open conflict where they were probably receiving a lot more guidance directly. Whereas now it would be nice to kind of hear a bit more about what the young man is to do in times like these. Not to derail I have a question. I want to ask you guys something about the cartel, if you don't mind, which would be kind of, it's not off topic. It's not off topic. It may seem that way, but, like, do you think, like, I know, like, Trump doing the whole, like, making them a terrorist organization so that it opens up a ton of assets and it opens up organizations and ways to get at them in different ways, right? And, maybe the fruits of that are yet to be seen. But, like, do you think, like, sicken the caggers on them is like feasible? Like, could they get them? Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think that's like
done? It was done with Escobar in the 80s.
Yes. But this was like, that's so, okay, that fair, right? But now we have like a different type of, like, we got like so this is I guess my question. So you say yes, I say what spooks me about that is, like, the ISIS, like, you hear about the ISIS guys, like, cutting off heads of people, like those, like, 13 martyrs or whatever, however many martyrs it was, maybe 20. That famous video of those guys on the beach, those Christian martyrs. And you're like, okay, so those dudes are straight up evil. Like, it's like demonic. Like, they're killing Christians, murdering Christians. ISIS, you go in there, destroy ISIS, easy. Because you got drones and they live in a desert. And you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it was easy, but it was hard fought. And a lot of people, I'm sure, lost their lives and thus. But with the cartel, I just feel like these guys are, like, evil on like a demonic level, where I'm like, the thought of, like, being a member of like this, I guess this is what separates the real ones from me, is like the thought of, like, going to fight these people is like where the outcome might be like having the flesh pulled from my body. Is like, how do you fight people like that?
Yeah, you kill them. You kill them or you put them in jail.
Yeah. But it's like, it's almost like I guess that's the fear factor of why they do what they do. Because it's like,
you can't stop us because like we don't care.
You can stop
Like,
them. You can stop
no,
them.
I'm saying, but that might be like why they do what they do. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
the way I
we're
look at
we're
it,
so evil, you can't touch us. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I don't think anyone's beyond reproach when it comes to that. I think a lot of these guys, they get up in their head about, if they drink the Kool-Aid and they're like, oh, like Saint Death is protecting me and this and that. And it's like, dog, trust me, you're not that guy. like, brother,
not
just
the main
as much as
character.
we worry, just as much as like we worry about, buying the farm on like a mission or something, or, I do on like a traffic stop or a search warrant or something like that. These guys probably worry about that shit too. No matter what they say, you can never forget that these are just men. They're men just like you and I. They have vulnerabilities. None of them are, invincible satanic super soldiers. They can be defeated.
Right. That's how I guess I saw them.
Take a dump.
What?
I said at one point all of them have struggled to take a dump.
Yeah, but have they pissed on their hands? There comes a time in a man's life where he must piss on his hands and hoist the black flag.
All right, so perhaps in part 2's in the future, I guess.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think
We'll let this one stew for a little while.
I guess what would be some good like takeaways or like questions to just present, not necessarily talk through, but I would say personally,
I asked the readers this: what is your favorite piss-based experience? Nothing sexual.
Do not research.
Grown man, by the way.
Grown man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Real talk. If you believe that what we've discussed tonight is wrong, then like, what's your alternative? I guess that's like the biggest question. Is like, do you think like, that things need to be done in this life? Like, well, okay, like what do you propose? Because like. And then what steps are you taking to enable that? Because there's a lot of like, I know Tyler knows about this, and I'm sure Joe, you know about this too from your training. But like, you long enough in the military, you know better than to present a problem without at least presenting a solution. Mm-hmm. Like, don't ever, I would never come up to someone and be like, "Here's the problem," and unless it was a problem that I seriously had no idea what to do about, or like this is like a novel concept, I'd still be like,
yeah,
like, here's the problem, what is the solution?
Right.
I would never come to anyone I serve under and be like, yeah, no, man, this is the issue, and and just leave it at the problem. It's just not a good form. You gotta have some sort of idea. Even if it's like,
one time by like being like, hey, like I don't think this is a good thing to do, or like this is the right this isn't the right thing to do, not in terms of like a moral thing, but just like, the way that we were going about something, there's probably a better way to do it. And somebody asked me, they're like, okay, what's your COA, right? Like, what's your course of action? Like, what do you propose? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, okay, so come back when you have one. It's like, okay, like I guess we're just going to continue doing this until something better presents itself with a justifiable enough explanation that it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, well, yeah, I think I've said enough.
Yeah,
but no, I would say, to kind of what Gio said, like if you disagree with anything or you have something to add, in terms of like, maybe the answer that we said is not what you want to hear or whatever. It's like, well, what do you propose, and what's your justification for it, and is that something that would be long-term sustainable? I think is a good question.
What are the pros and cons of it?
Yeah, like how quickly can that idea be dismantled?
And kind of to bring it into military context that everyone can kind of like digest easier, maybe based off of who listens to this. When you have a problem, what are the tactical ramifications, the operational ramifications, and then the strategic ramifications of it. Like, everything you do is going to have some sort of lasting third order effects, and like, have you considered those? What if you succeed? Well, what if you fail? Like, I don't like entertaining what ifs, but with something like this, you do have to at least dialogue it a bit.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I would say is, like, for the sensitive young men out there, do not despair. Tyler had to remind me of this the other day. Like, we have to strive for, the gifts and virtues of faith, hope, and charity.
The three theological virtues.
Yeah, and we have Christ wins in the end, but it's up to us to kind of put the pieces together for the time being. So do not despair.
Yeah, I feel like it's difficult for people to hear that and find like solace in it because it's not like a tangible thing, right? Like, the reality is that there are horrors going on in our world by the people that are making, legislation and telling us what we can and can't have, and can and can't do, But, I think that the core takeaway that has been like a common theme over the last, after the first hour, because that's obviously just the buffer, but it's that there's an eternity, and then this is not the eternity, and so setting yourself up for success within the eternity is going to be the better, is going to be the ultimately better course of action than setting yourself up for failure in the eternity, but doing something in the temporary, I guess, to keep it kind of vague, but yeah.
All right.